Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States. And
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome. Hope everyone is doing well. We are switching things around tonight. We are going to finish Joel Guy Jr. trial, which would be our normal Monday. And then tomorrow we are doing what I'd normally do on Sunday, and we are doing a Rumble exclusive on the totally legitimate, totally no questions about it at all, September 11th tragedy that happened. No question it happened. It just how it happened. I have some questions. So yeah, that will be tomorrow. That will be Rumble exclusive. It will be very spicy. Tell your friends. Spicy. Welcome my co-host for tonight's action, Dog Momma.
Hello.
Hello. And then we will get into the action here. This is going to be our last night. So this is everything kind of wrapped up into one. Closings. Then we have verdict, sentencing, victim impacts, and yeah, then we're all wrapped up with Mr. Guy.
And then you get to vote on the next one.
Yeah, when I get off my ass and actually do it.
Yes, please do.
Oh, fuck. You already got them for me, didn't you? So all I got to do is literally put them in?
I've got we may have to talk about the ones that I may not or may not have.
Oh. Okay. Well, we can
We'll
do
have
that
to discuss
after.
it later. Yeah.
All right. That works. So that's kind of where we're at. So let's say hello to everybody and we'll get right into it tonight. What's up, Dazzer? How you doing, mate? You good? Good over there in jolly old England? Dog Mom, hello. He might be late. He's the only mod on Hayden's stream right now. What the? He might be late. Do you think I'm actually doing anything? Like, I am the worst mod on the planet, and everybody that has modded me knows this damn well.
Mm-hmm.
I am the absolute worst mod. I will keep it up and do about as much modding as I usually do, which is none. But tell them I love them. Shanny, hello.
I got the links up, but they were late.
Whatever. What's up, Bobby? You're licking the paint off the walls. Isn't the paint ketchup from Joel?
Yes, of course it is.
That's what I thought. So you're licking up Mom's spaghetti.
Oh. It's ketchup.
There was a lot of fluids in those Rubbermaid tubs, if you were wondering. Bobby, if you're still hungry. Just saying. Bobby, are you here tonight or not? I don't want to offend your hearability. Smash the like button like Amber Hood shit the bed. Exactly.
Yep.
What's up, Red?
Hey,
what's
Red.
up, AP? Jenny B, hello. And all right, yeah, I have Hayden's up, but I'm not really paying attention, so. But that's pretty much par for the course, so nobody's going to notice that I'm not doing my job.
Oh,
It's more of a symbolic gesture from Hayden,
yes.
if we're
Yeah.
being honest. And I know that. You know that. We all know that.
We all know that.
So, and it's a symbolic gesture that I appreciate, Mr. Hayden. So yeah, before he did too much on my stream and he posted his link, but he said he wouldn't. I know. I know. That's why I wanted to ask. Words of violence. So, yeah, but do you have anything to add to before we get started on the end here?
I'm ready for this to be over.
I'm kind of ready for this to be over too. This guy creeps me out.
Yeah.
And
Jason J, you didn't miss anything. We just started.
No, you haven't missed anything yet, Jason. Apparently I'm the only mod over in Hayden's chat, so I'm doing what I normally do. So that's about all you missed is me babbling about being the shittiest mod on the planet. So but I accept it. All right, so let's get into it.
Here, who said to you in the beginning, thank you for being here, especially during these unprecedented times in the middle of a global pandemic. We are thankful that you're here and you're fulfilling your civic
There's no video.
to serve as jurors in this case. So
thank you.
On behalf of the state of Tennessee, thank you for being here.
Well, there is now.
As you're aware, this is State of Tennessee versus Joel Michael Guy.
It's
Jr.
embedded. It's not.
He is
I'm not
charged
streaming.
with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder for the murders of Lisa Guy and Joel Guy Sr., 3 counts of felony murder for the killing that is committed in the perpetration of the killing of Joel Guy Sr., and then for 2 felony murder counts for a killing perpetrated in the commission of thefts, 1 against Lisa Guy, 1 against Joel Guy Sr., as well as 2 counts of abuse of a corpse. As you know, there's a great deal of proof in this case, a lot of evidence to consider. The best way for me to stay organized is to present this in a PowerPoint. So chronologically, what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is Thanksgiving weekend, 2016. We know, based on text messages between Joel and his mother, that he is leaving Baton Rouge on the 23rd of November, 2016. He is heading to the parents' address on 11434 Golden View Avenue here in Knox County. We know, based on the testimony of Ms. Tyler, Michelle Tyler, the sister of Joel Michael Guy Jr., that the family gathered on Thanksgiving the 24th. We further heard testimony from Joel Guy Sr.'s sister that on the 25th,
together.
Joel Guy Jr. is present in Surgoinsville.
I don't remember this guy from the trial at all. You?
I don't.
Day after Thanksgiving to assist him in bringing a boat to the property.
Apparently they brought in a
We
ringer.
know, based on the evidence, that the homicides occurred
Maybe he just
between
didn't
the
ask
hours of
many
12:30
questions.
and roughly 3
Maybe.
p.m. on
It's
November
kind of like a closing
26th,
picture. You just bring him up to
2016.
Yeah.
In all this time, ladies and gentlemen, there's a plan in place. Joel Guy took care to plan these homicides accordingly. He went into great detail in how he wrote it out. So his plan, as you'll see and as the proof is demonstrated, was to kill his father first, wait until his mother was at Walmart, wait for a window of time where he could lure her upstairs and kill her as well. He then planned to manipulate the scene, even up to starting a fire. He had a guide for hot water heaters in his backpack in the guest bedroom that he was staying in. He had a plan to destroy the evidence. If you recall, and you'll see pictures, several areas throughout the residence, there are either a hair dryer or a hair curler next to a heater. What's the motive here? We don't have the burden to prove
Curling
the motive,
iron.
but the motive's pretty apparent in this case, and the motive is the money. He wants $500,000 that he is the second in line to get if Lisa Guy untimely dies. So if we look at the timeline of the defendant's travel, we know from the Vigilant Solutions exhibits that were entered in this case that he is seen driving to Knoxville, Mississippi, on November 23rd, 2016 at roughly 1:30. We further saw receipts in his trunk from Lieutenant Scott Henning when he inventoried that trunk that he had stopped in Georgia to go to McDonald's on the 23rd.
It's a stock pot, not a crock pot, Bobby.
Again, that would show his route of travel on the 23rd.
Yeah, it's a stock.
Next, we know that he leaves Knoxville and is in Meridian, Mississippi at 12:31 on 11/28/2016, that being Monday morning, early Monday morning. He's again spotted continuing south towards Louisiana, Baton Rouge to be specific, in Heidelberg, Mississippi at 1:05 a.m. So when we consider how the defendant, Joel Michael Guy Jr., became a suspect in this case, what the proof has shown is that upon the officer's initial response to the scene, they inventoried a horror scene, as they put it. You saw the proof, you saw the evidence of what they encountered inside that residence. You heard about interviews that Investigator McCord conducted with family members that put him on the path to establish that Joel Michael Guy Jr. was present for Thanksgiving and he was no longer there. We then heard about the receipt, the crucial piece of evidence that led investigators to follow up and to dig deeper into who the suspect was in this case. We saw the video transactions from Walmart identifying Joel Michael Guy Jr. We saw his license plate as he left. That was at roughly 3:35 p.m. on the 26th at Turkey Creek here in Knox County, Tennessee. We learned that his mother was there roughly 3 hours previously, purchasing a long list of groceries that we ultimately found in the foyer area. So Investigator Jeremy McCord, he's with the Knox County Sheriff's Office. He was serving at that time in the Major Crimes Division. Yeah. He responded first to a welfare check.
For work today, and how do I like her? I've tried calling her home number, I've tried calling cell phone, and can't get a hold of her. What can we do about that? Can somebody go by and check on them? Yeah, do you know her address? I do. It is 11434 Golden View Lane.
That is the basis of the response to the residents originally. We heard from Detective Ballard about how he responded. Knocked on the door, rang the doorbell, went around back, whistled for a dog, again went to the door with no answer. Investigator McCord then received an additional call with more information about Lisa Guy supposed to be at a retirement party, as this was her last working week before she moved to Seguinsville. Some of the things he considered when he got to the residence: he found it odd that the house was for sale and there was no realtor box in the front door. He took that into consideration. He also took into consideration that both the vehicles that were registered to Lisa and Joel Guy Sr. were at the residence and no one was answering the door. He then moves around to the rear of the residence. He finds at the rear of the residence there's a back door with the doorknob absent, a hole instead. And upon investigating that hole in the door, he describes that he could smell chemicals and he could feel heat emitting from where that doorknob should have been.
What a voyeur.
He further described that upon looking at the front door, the doorknob for the front door matched the deadbolt on the back. We saw that ultimately the investigator and accompanying officers were able to gain access into the garage. They were able to open one of the guy's vehicles and hit a garage door opener, which ultimately opened the garage. We heard about what he encountered once he opened that garage. He described that he could still feel heat, he could smell chemicals present in the garage. Ultimately, the officers make a decision based on what they've encountered to make an entry into that residence and conduct a welfare check inside of 11434 Golden View Lane on November the 28th, 2016. And you recall seeing the officers on the body camera with weapons drawn based on what they encountered outside. To make sure everyone is okay, they are processing the kitchen, or not processing, but kind of traversing through the varying rooms of the downstairs. At that point, Investigator McCord, if you recall, he said that nothing was really wrong there. There were some odd things I was considering, but nothing showed any signs of struggle. But it was concerning that there were groceries on the floor, the foyer. It was concerning that there were chemicals right when you came in the door. All that changes when they make entry into that stairwell.
Okay, so apparently the mod thing seems to be a YouTube issue because Hayden has people that are his mod in, they just lost their mod.
We're here to check your welfare!
And you recall when Investigator
So he
McCord
has
testified
he has mods.
about the
Yeah, well, he
kind
has
of what
like
he was
Rose
receiving at
and
the time and
he
how it made him feel
has
based on what he
Mandy and
encountered
a bunch of other
upon making it
people
to the
that are
second
generally
floor
mods,
of
but
the residence
YouTube
at
doesn't have
11434
moderator
Golden View
powers
Lane.
for them, so they can't moderate
Stated once we get
or
upstairs, it's like the
post
world does a
or any
180.
of that.
That's
Everything
weird.
gets turned upside down.
I'm the only mod that
Initially,
still has mod
seeing
powers.
Blood on the way up to
in
the
Hayden's
stairs,
stream.
blood on the doggy gate,
Weird.
and then ultimately
Very weird.
a horrific scene, which will later become apparent. The scene.
Maybe
where
ScrewTube's
Lisa
just
Guy was
picking the worst
executed
mod for
and
every
subsequently, disarticulated.
creator, and they get to keep it. Do you still have yours? We can find
He
out.
said he could see straight down the hall, and he saw hands
think-
not
hey,
connected to
hey.
the body. We also heard that from Officer Ballard, who experienced
Yes,
the same
I
thing,
do.
as well as the other deputies who responded
That's what it is then.
on November 26th. With regard to finding
We are not 2
the
hours in
physical
yet.
bodies, and these tubs right before you, ladies and gentlemen, these 2 tubs, he described that as being gut-wrenching, something he's never experienced before. All the crime scenes that he's responded to, all the homicides that he worked, this one was different. He told us that he will never get those smells out of his head or his dreams. So when we talk about the charges with regard to this case, we'll start with the counts 1 and 2 being the premeditated first-degree murders. Now, the judge is going to instruct you as to what the state of Tennessee must prove to you, element-wise, beyond a reasonable doubt. We have 3 essential elements as it has to do with first-degree murder,
Oh, okay.
premeditated first-degree murder. And those are, we have to prove that Joel Michael Guy unlawfully killed his father, Joel Michael Sr., and he unlawfully killed his mother, Lisa Guy, and that in doing so, he acted intentionally, and that the killing was premeditated. The judge will further instruct you as to what the legal definition of premeditation is, and I ask you to consider that premeditation in the legal sense is exercise of reflection and judgment. It's thinking about things, what we're going to do later on in the day, what we're going to wear the next day for work. It's giving something some degree of thought. The legal definition for acting intentionally, ladies and gentlemen. A person acts intentionally when it's the person's conscious objective or desire to cause the death of the alleged victim. So we look at the instruments or the means on how these gruesome homicides were committed in this case. We know that there was at least 2 knives in the exercise room that were recovered, where Joel Guy Sr.'s hands were ultimately recovered. We know that there was further a knife next to the pile of clothes belonging to Lisa Guy. We know that there is a knife in the master bedroom sink. We know in the guest bathroom there is a United States Marine Corps K-bar
Trudeau's
knife.
planes broke down
We
in
know there's
Canada.
chemicals. We know
Or
there's
in
other
India.
objects.
He can't get back to Canada. By the way.
And with regard to the $500,000, ladies and gentlemen, what this case is about in terms of motive, we know that there's a breakdown of beneficiaries where Joel Michael Guy Jr. is the contingent beneficiary, where Joel Sr. is the primary beneficiary on Lisa Guy's life insurance policy. And how do we know that Joel Michael Guy Jr. is aware of that?
Concerns mine.
First of all,
Okay,
we
good.
consider his notebook, his book of premeditation, where he identifies the value, money, all mine, $500,000. He knows exactly what he's in line to receive if his mom were to die and if his dad were to die. When looking at that first-degree murder in terms of what we have to prove his identity, that Joel Michael Guy unlawfully killed, and so on and so forth. So with regard to identity, what you've seen, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen Joel Guy's written words. This book is connected to him through certain pieces of material, such as set her phone to send me a text message late Sunday to prove that I was in BR, being Baton Rouge, and she was, quote unquote, alive. We can prove his identity through his own spoken words, ladies and gentlemen. His admission of guilt as it relates to the homicides in this case.
Can they really use that though? I thought they weren't supposed to use that.
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, yes, they are.
No, there was a motion on it that they could use it for proof of something, but not in its entirety. There was a big consternation about it at one point.
Yeah.
It's like the only thing the defense challenged.
Ask me how I could do this, blah, blah, blah. Submit to you what you heard there was an admission of guilt by Joel Guy Jr. We further prove his identity through fingerprints. You heard from Tom Finch and Brad Parks, who testified that they were on the scene at 11434 Golden View Lane on the 28th and after the
dog just ripped out my headphones.
That's when they went about trying to lift latent fingerprints from within the residence. We also learned from the defendant's book of premeditation.
Your dogs are kind of being dicks today, aren't they?
His fingerprints when he's going to be there by the use of wearing socks and also gloves. It's apparent based on the photos that the defendant certainly wore gloves during the commission of the offense and after. We saw his palm print that was ultimately lifted from the left side of the guest sink next to the bag that had the Walmart receipt and the change from the medical supplies that he bought after he was injured in a struggle with Joel Guy Sr. And where that is, if you'll recall, in the bathroom here, the guest bathroom, there was a bunch of clothing here, a bloody shower curtain down here, various items here in a bag, a trash can here, a knife, a K-bar Marine Corps knife here, and a bunch of evidence
A-bar.
that was analyzed through the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation over here.
Gosney again.
We saw the fingerprint, which was ultimately lifted and conclusively identified as that belonged to Joe Michael Guy Jr., the one on the left being the print from the scene, the one on the right being a standard. And they talked about, the experts, Mr. Finch and Parks, talked about the characteristics that they look for in peaks and arches when examining fingerprints, and how they ultimately come to a conclusion that a given fingerprint was provided by a given source. And this fingerprint in the same bathroom is just on the other side of the sink. The Clorox package, that being in the guest bedroom, in the closet area. Again, the print that was lifted, latent print that was lifted off that package.
Oh, in the closet with Joel?
The left here being the print that was lifted, the right being the known standard of Joel Michael Guy Jr.'s print, and how they were analyzed, and ultimately they concluded that Joel Michael Guy Jr. was the source of the print. The right middle finger print from the glove box. These are the nitrile gloves, ladies and gentlemen. These are the gloves that were not only downstairs in the kitchen, but also in
When
the
I
guest
heard glove
bedroom,
box, I thought of car
and
glove
also
box,
in the guest
not
bathroom.
I
literal.
did as well.
And again, the same process was
gloves.
utilized in collecting all these prints, and they were ultimately able to determine that Joel Michael Guy Jr. was the source of the fingerprints. The right index finger from the medical tape that he purchased at Walmart after he was in a struggle with Joel Guy Sr. So how do we further prove his identity? We heard a great deal of testimony from Special Agent Kim Lowe at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. She talked to you about all the pieces of evidence that she examined, multiple pieces of evidence that contained not only Joel Michael Guy Jr.'s DNA, but also the DNA of his parents put together. But most troubling, we learned that the notebook, the book of premeditation here, we learned that the major contributor is consistent with Joel Guy Jr. And we learned, she talked about, even broke it into quadrillions, about the number of being incorrect in the analysis. The knife from the master bedroom sink, where the stew-like remains of Lisa Guy and Joel Guy Sr. were ultimately recovered in these tubs, ladies and gentlemen, before you. The fingernail clippings of Joel Guy Sr. We learned that there was the presence of Joel Guy Jr.'s DNA underneath the fingernail clippings, or on the fingernail clippings of Joel Guy Sr. Again, supporting there was a struggle, an attack.
Huh.
So after identity, I want to talk to you about premeditation and how this case, how the state has proven to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Joel Michael Guy Jr. acted
It is just
with
so
a great
weird.
deal of premeditation in these cold, calculated homicides of his mother and father.
Yes.
There's two routes I want to travel with regard to premeditation. The first route is the purchase of supplies used in commission of the murders, okay? And I want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, the proof has showed us that this began 19 days before these homicides took place. He was buying things that he was planning to use in the commission of these offenses 19 days beforehand. Another avenue of premeditation is, of course, the notebook.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Brian.
We know that he wrote about the murders, what he was going to do. You've seen the pages, what supplies he needed, what order he needed to do things, what he was going to do with the bodies after they were deceased, what he was going to do with the residents after his plan was carried out. We know he purchased supplies in preparation. We saw multiple videos
Hey,
of
Jacob.
him not only in Baton Rouge, but traveling up to 35 miles outside of Baton Rouge to purchase supplies. We heard that
What's up, Jacob
Dan
Castro?
Boudreaux Ace Hardware is roughly 35 miles from Baton Rouge proper. And he had to find a place that carried muriatic acid in food-grade hydrogen peroxide. sewer cleaner number 2. Again, what's this about? This is about a motivation to collect money.
Sewer cleaner number 2.
Because his parents were had had enough supporting
Can't make
him.
That's usually what clogs the
He never
sewer.
worked a day in his life,
I know,
and they wanted
just the
to
way you
retire,
said it.
and they deserve to retire. And we look at the supply purchases again. We'll start with supplies that were purchased the farthest out in terms of days from when the homicides occurred. 19 days beforehand, this would be November the 7th of 2016. He purchased several supplies at 2 different locations. So again, if you look at the left, Mr. Joel Michael Guy Jr., who Jerry Coleman, task force officer with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, was able to determine that he was on the video on the 7th of November purchasing. If you look to the right, this is the physical evidence that was seized at the crime scene. So we have Mr. Joel Michael Guy on the 7th purchasing muriatic acid. We further have Joel Michael Guy on the 7th purchasing what comes in these tied off bags because it's so dangerous, to skin contact and its ability to be corrosive to skin, food grade hydrogen peroxide. If you see here, these are the big bags that are pre-tied. So those are just the purchases in Gonzales, again, which is roughly 35 miles outside of Baton Rouge on the 7th. But that's not it, ladies and gentlemen. The same day, Joel Michael Guy then goes to Lowe's. He purchases an Irwin pipe wrench. And we see at the crime scene in the master bathroom that the shower head has been taken off, that a hose has been applied to assist in his process of disarticulating his parents and ultimately putting them into an acidic-based fluid to dispose of their remains.
Don't forget the
He's
stock
also
pot.
purchasing Clorox wipes. Same wipes that contained his fingerprints.
Yep.
Same wipes that are found in the guest bedroom at 11434 Golden View Lane. So let's jump down the road closer to when he commits these murders. He takes a break from 19, and now we're at 8 days. 8 days before the murders. He's thinking about it again. This is getting real. Am I going to do this? He goes to Home Depot, Louisiana, 11/18. And what's he buy at Home Depot? Home Depot brand extension cords, as well as a timer. And we saw what the timers were intended to do in his book of premeditation. They were going to be utilized to create a fire after the bodies had dissolved. He makes another transaction at Home Depot, just minutes apart. He must have forgot the commercial bleach sprayer. And as you see on the right, the crime scene, we have the bleach and the bleach sprayer. The very next day, he's still thinking about it. 7 days before the murders. 1 week before he's set to come into Knoxville to enjoy Thanksgiving with his family. He is at Academy Sports in Baton Rouge. He is purchasing what you can see here, ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you is the K-bar weapon, the Marine Corps style knife that he used to murder his parents with. Again, when you consider that with the evidence on the crime scene. So 2 days have passed. He's now 5 days before the murders. And what's he doing? He's at Walmart. You saw that video where he struggled to have the machine take his bill. And what's he buying? He's buying at least one of these. The proof is shown in the video showed that he already had one. We saw him take the groceries and put them in the car and take a pre-existing bin, the same size, same color, same style, out and place one of those bins in there and put them both in. he bought his parents' tombs on the 21st. On to the next avenue of premeditation. I told you about the supply purchases, but also the book of premeditation. The same book that has his DNA on it.
I
The
believe
same
it was,
book
if I'm
that
not
he
mistaken.
identifies that
I'm not
he will
sure.
go back to BR, so his mom's phone can be programmed to set a text so she could be, in quote, alive. And what does this book do when you put it with the crime scene? Essentially, the writings, what they do is they corroborate everything that's out in the crime scene. So everything he set out to do, he did. Get rid of the bodies inside of the house. Well, the proof has shown that he did that, ladies and gentlemen, or at least attempted to. Get carving knives to make small pieces. Get knives because they're quiet. Get multiple of them. Again, we found at least 5 knives scattered around the upstairs of 11434 Golden View Lane here in Knox County. 5 knives that were used in the commission of these brutal murders. Get plastic sheeting for the disposal process. We saw the plastic sheeting in the master bathroom. Investigator McCord sure encountered that plastic sheeting when he made that awful discovery. The remainder of the plastic sheeting being on the guest bed that was neatly made. Get bleach denature proteins. Get plastic bin for denaturation process. Ladies and gentlemen, he had the supplies. We saw him buy the muriatic acid. Turn heat up to 90 to melt fingerprints and dry everything. Now, we saw a lot of crime scene pictures in this case from different crime scene technicians. We also saw video. So upon initial entry, if you recall, the heat upstairs was at 95 degrees. And after initial entry, it starts to cool down a bit. It goes to 93. It goes to 90. We heard about everybody who went in that crime scene. The medical examiner, Investigator McCord, the initial responding officers. We heard from Officer Ballard about his reaction to that heat on his face. The smell of chemicals. Turn heater up as high as it goes to speed decomposition. Okay, well, we know what he wants to decompose. The disarticulated, brutalized bodies of his parents that are in an acidic-based fluid.
Yeah, I still don't like this guy.
No,
We
he
also
is.
see a fan.
He has zero energy at all.
Yeah, he's not my
Heard
fave.
On the crime scene video, was actively working.
I don't even have a part of a
when
chop
officers
right
initially
now.
entered.
You don't have a what?
Part of a chop. Like he's not doing anything for
Gloves
me.
and socks
It's
to
just
prevent fingerprints and footprints.
I wouldn't have one at all.
Well, what do we find in the
If I were a
guest
guy.
bed? We find a bag with Hanes socks. What do we find?
I'm glad you
Throughout the
qualified that
residence
because I was thinking
at
very deeply.
11434
Didn't want to be
Golden
there.
View Lane.
I know I had to qualify it. I know what
Prevent
company I'm in.
fingerprints.
You're welcome.
We've seen the proof is corroborated.
Bowser's
that,
gonna go
Joel Mighty
exposing
Bass
all my
Jr.,
secrets.
After he killed his parents, based on their clothing with the
Desert exposes everything.
incisions in the clothing, he then
Oh, Ghost
decided that
Hey, Ghost
planned that he was going to remove their clothes and
And tits
take
from
them away.
earlier.
And he did that.
Oh, Tits was here? What's
by
up,
the
Tits?
use of scissors that were located ultimately right next to the pile of blood where he executed his mother. And how's he going to go about disarticulating his parents? At least for his mother. Turn on the hot water and point her to get rid of forensics. Remove her clothes and take them with me for disposal.
Got to do that.
get a sledgehammer to crush bones. And if you look below the crime scene in the master bedroom floor, with a bunch of other various items that he brought with him through his shopping, is a sledgehammer. We also know that there was a blender in the master bedroom on the floor, a base and the portion of the blender that holds the content. We know that when he was arrested in Louisiana, that in his trunk, not only was there a gas can that exactly matched the other three at the residence, but there was a commercial meat grinder. We did what he wanted to do. Place hair curler with flammable paper and flammable containers of gasoline in 4 locations. So that tells us that Joel Michael Guy Jr. brought 4 gas cans. And if you recall, ladies and gentlemen, I'm bringing one up to enter it into evidence. It's full. They're full of gas. And looking into that entry deeper,
Is this sped up?
Flammable paper and flammable containers.
Maybe he'd be
And
more
have a hair
peppy
curl.
sped up.
Plugged in.
Yes, it's
You have
sped
a
up,
hair
and
dryer.
I can't speed it up
Plugged in.
anymore
Both.
because
Next
Oh
to
no.
it's not a video.
He wasn't done, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh no.
He was not done. He
He
left
was not
because
done.
His plan was disrupted when Joel Guy Sr.
Hey, Jiminy
attempted
the
to
Witch.
fight for his life.
Hey, Jiminy. Shit.
Timer for flammables
Stupid
set for
ass
Friday at 10 a.m.
I gotta figure
Talks
this mouse
about how
out because
sunlight
now
can mask
Digger's
fire,
comment stuck
but
on the
not
screen
smoke.
because I can't move it.
And the fact that everyone will be at work,
I
they
can't
won't be able
click
to
it.
report it.
I'm clicking,
And
but
we
it won't
find
go
on the
away.
scene, ladies and gentlemen,
Look it.
as well as we see in the video from Home Depot, he's buying a heavy-duty timer.
Heavy duty timer.
Fuck.
Oh, since you said it,
Get
fuck
rid
you
of the
for
blood
earlier.
in the crime scene. He knows there's going to be blood. He plans to attack his parents with knives. He knows.
Fuck me for earlier for what?
Use
I don't
peroxide and
remember.
bleach.
I said
Peroxide
we
has
weren't
the
2 hours
ability,
in.
to work against hemoglobin.
Oh,
component
for
of
calling you
human
the
blood,
worst content. Yeah,
And the
gotcha.
bleach has
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ability to diminish the presence of DNA. And what do we find on the scene? Hydrogen peroxide, bleach, plenty of bleach. Bleach reacts with luminol, just like blood. Douse the area with bleach. And how does he plan to do that? With this commercial bleach sprayer that we watched him purchase from Home Depot on the 18th of November, 2016.
No
8
goes
days
free. There
before
wasn't a boiling head
he
recipe.
carried out these homicides. And what does
Salt,
he do
pepper,
afterwards?
little bay leaf, or 2.
Well, shit. I would normally type this backstage,
Bleach by
but
itself isn't gonna work.
I gotta go get a
What we
battery
need,
because
what
my
we learned
mouse
from-
died. So
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
A search was conducted on the artifacts of the home computer on the 27th. We submit to you that the proof is shown that Joel Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy were murdered, brutally murdered.
Yes,
on the
Digger, it is a
26th.
deep comment that must be
Leaves Joel
pondered.
Guy in the residence on the 27th. We know he leaves the late hours of the 27th into the 28th. There's a search on the 27th at 8:05 a.m. looking for sodium percarbonate.
Welcome to the show. My
and the
name is
investigator
Dog Momma,
told us
and I
that
will be
that is
taking
OxyContin.
over.
So, with
But I
regard
can't
to
click
first
on
degree
anything,
premeditated
so-
murder, we've showed you, ladies
It
and
is what
gentlemen,
it is.
beyond a reasonable doubt, the identity of the killer, Joel Michael Guy Jr. We have showed you that he acted
Jiminy,
with premeditation.
Joel Michael Guy
And we must
Jr.
also
is
establish
stupid
that
enough
he
to write all
intentionally
this down.
killed Lisa Guy, his mother, and Joel
And
Guy
sure,
Sr., his
goes
father.
free. Until
So with
thickened?
regard
Yeah.
to Joel Guy Sr., we know that he was executed in the exercise room with apparent signs of struggle. Not only is the exercise machine overturned, but there's a futon present inside
Bobby's
that
corner.
room that has been
Ketchup
stabbed.
corner.
The blood patterns on the walls We heard proof about how they had smears in them. There's clearly a struggle in this room.
Smears.
Again, going down the hallway where Investigator McCord and Ballard were able to see the severed hands in a praying-like position of Joe Guy Sr.
Now it's a praying-like position?
So how do
Has
we
it always
get
been a
to-
praying-like position, chat?
That Joel Guy Jr. acted intentionally. What points us there? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we heard from the medical examiner yesterday, and she talked about that she was able to identify at least 42 stab wounds. And there may be more present, but based on the
Desert.
condition of Mr. Guy and the fact that his skin on his front side had essentially dissolved, and he was down to muscle, and portions of his skull had dissolved, she was still able to identify at least 42 stab wounds. And again, when you connect that with the legal definition of acting intentionally, a person acts intentionally when it's their conscious, objective, or desire to cause the death of the alleged victim. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you at least 42 stab wounds is acting intentionally.
Yeah, he didn't have enough gusto for the 8 to make it an even 50.
You see signs of a struggle.
Ghost 3.
We know that in the struggle,
Bobby,
Joe Guy
there's your
Sr.
corner.
obtained several injuries to
I mean,
himself,
Bobby, who's not here, there's your
either
corner.
by trying to repel an assault or by physically grabbing the blade, knowing that he will be cut
Deserts
to stop an
both.
assault. What does the machine tell us? Points to a struggle. What does the couch or futon tell us? There was a struggle.
42 could be the not meaning of life.
But most damning, what does Joel Guy Jr. tell us when he goes to Walmart?
Oh yeah, sorry,
He tells
Ghost 3.
us there was a struggle.
Trigger warning?
And ladies and gentlemen, you have this video for consideration. It's in evidence. I would ask you to look at his left hand and his inability, essentially, to use it. Same medical supplies that are ultimately found in the guest bathroom, upstairs level of 11434 Golden View Lane.
Look at that
So
nice
much of a
little
struggle
balloon.
that Mr. Guy cannot pull his wallet out.
I don't know if that was
See his hands?
necessary.
It's evident there was a struggle.
Take care, Digger. Have a good one.
Again, with regard to Joel Guy Sr.'s hands, ladies and gentlemen, again, we heard proof yesterday from Dr. Hawes, who established that these are defensive
Good night, Digger.
wounds
Your
in
comment
nature,
will live here
and
forever.
that they were either obtained trying to repel an assault or
You don't have any
grabbing the
batteries?
blade to stop an assault. But further, what did we learn? We learned that when Joel Guy Jr. was arrested in Louisiana, what the video didn't show us is the actual wounds. We got to look at them. We got to see how serious
Does
these
he have a
wounds were.
chub?
I don't want to know.
Saw the instruments of
Why was
death
I looking that close?
used to murder Joel Guy Sr., used to stab him at least 42 times, used to create a gaping wound on the left side of his body,
Gaping. Hey,
used
Bradley.
to disarticulate him at
What's
the
up, Bradley?
shoulders, at the hips, at the hands. And what was
She's
Joel's
deeply
plan?
disturbed,
Joel Guy
Gemini.
Jr.
We probably made that
Kill him
happen.
with the knife.
Yeah, it was all your
Probably
fault.
our fault.
He did, ladies and gentlemen.
Desert.
Consider the torso.
Oh yeah, trigger
What's
warning.
left of the remains of
Yes,
Joe
Ghost
Guy
Reed.
Sr.
I agree.
Again, previous to
But
this,
I
had
thought
been
I saw. Never mind.
dissolving, essentially, in the acidic
Oh, go
fluid.
ahead. You can tell us.
No. I just thought I saw a little shadow.
Saw some illustrations where medical examiner
I was
able
corrupted
to
way before this,
explain
Jiminy.
the disarticulation of Joe Guy Sr. and where it happened, and also use this as a way to explain how those chemicals reacted with his skin and what they did to his body.
She hangs out in my Discord.
Face down in one of these
You know what that's like, Gemini.
Yeah, I do.
She explained that his skin
Probably my
dissolved.
fault.
Again, that he was sectioned
Nah.
off the joint.
Oh, could this not be more boring?
She explained that he had stab wounds that were at least 6 inches deep. Injuries of his lungs, liver, kidneys.
Oh, Bradley.
We got to see his clothes. Joe Michael Guy Jr. was
I mean,
nice
we
enough
weren't
to not
able to
cut
see
his
his
dad's
hands
off,
all
at
of the
least
time, Bradley,
hands.
so it's possible.
saw the signs of
He 100% has been getting off to this whole trial, though.
Oh,
We know
yeah.
that.
cuts.
EP.
Please. Hey, next 5 to 10 if you get a breaking point.
Oh, they compared DNA. What was it?
Actually,
1 in
probably
4
good.
trillion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was a
All
lot.
right, folks, so your lunch is here. It's 12:15. I'm going to go ahead and interrupt General Sanchez. We will continue with his closing arguments when we get back. We're getting close, but we're not there yet, so do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. Please go with the officers. Enjoy your lunch. I'll see you here in about 45 minutes today. It'll be a shorter lunch today, 45 minutes.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, go eat lunch after seeing all this.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Okay, I did cut it out. Thank God.
We were
Oh, good.
talking about the elements of premeditated first-degree murder, that the state has the burden to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt the essential elements for that offense.
Bradley, I don't think
being
that's
that
true.
Joe Michael Guy Jr. unlawfully
creep.
killed Lisa Guy, his mother, and Joe Guy Sr., and that he did so intentionally, and that he did so with premeditation. We talked about the premeditation in the purchase supplies. We talked about the premeditation in
Probably
the
Dazzler.
notebook, the book
Nah,
of
fuck 'em.
premeditation. We also went through the entries and we looked at the intentional acts of Joe Guy Jr. with regard to the unlawful killing of his father.
This was during the height of COVID, and even
we
the
left
judge
here,
hates
ladies and
the
gentlemen,
fact
with
that
the
there's COVID
shirt
restrictions,
that Joe
but
Guy
the
Sr.
Supreme
was
Court
wearing
in
that was
Tennessee
also
made them.
removed from
Yep.
him with a pair of scissors.
He made about a
cut
dozen
off.
comments about it during trial.
Stab wounds present. Again, this is a man who suffered at least 42 stab wounds, ladies and gentlemen. An intentional killing.
And Bradley, if you'd been here for all
Next,
of
I want to focus on the intentional killing
the
of Lisa
trial,
Guy,
you would know that it was during
that
COVID.
occurred in the upstairs
Hey,
landing
leave
at
Bradley alone. He
11:34
just
Golden
subscribed to
Lane
my
here in
channel,
Knox
and I
County,
could not be
Tennessee,
happier to have
on
Bradley
November
on board, okay?
26th,
Bradley's a good
2016.
bloke.
Oh, that's right.
We
I
know
had to
Joe
send
Guy
him your
Jr. had a
channel.
plan. He had a plan with regard to what order he was going to execute his parents in. He demonstrated that in his book of premeditation.
Well, Dazzler, I was
Clean up the
eating
mess from him before she
potato
gets
salad
home.
the other day.
He's looking for a window when his mother
I
will
just
not
had
be
some
present.
cheese.
When he can take
Not
care
my
of his dad
cheese, like
and
real
wait for her to
cheese.
get home and take care of her. We know that this guy checked out of Walmart on November 26, 2016 at roughly 12:18. She's captured on video surveillance purchasing items that are ultimately found in the foyer in the downstairs of the residence. We know that she makes it out of Walmart at roughly 12:19, and that Joel Guy Jr., the defendant, goes to Walmart at 3:35 the same day. The work has been done at that point. Lisa, Guy, Joel Guy Sr.
Obviously not if he's going to
have been
Walmart to
murdered.
get more supplies. He wasn't
And how do
done
we
with the
know
work
that?
yet.
We know that through proof that came in during the course of this trial, receipts that corroborate the items that were purchased, a receipt that
I
corroborates
seriously
the date
don't
and
remember
time,
this
as well as the
trial
video.
being so boring.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the last moments of Lisa Guy's life. And you are watching her in the same clothing that she was murdered in, and that was ultimately cut off her body.
Yes, Lisa did got.
Not a worry in the world. Little did Lisa Guy know. She had no idea of the terror that awaited her. She came in, what the proof demonstrates, through the front door, brought in
She
groceries
knew her son was a creep.
with
so
what the
she
proof
could find him
demonstrates
maybe
without the
now?
help of Joe Guy
Yeah.
Jr., who at this point had cut hands. She
Odd
was
to
lured
add.
upstairs, up the stairwell, through the doggy door, and brutally attacked. We saw from Investigator McCord and Officer Ballard the blood present on the way up the stairs. And we submit to you that that blood was likely the result of Joel Guy Jr. bringing his mother's decapitated head down the stairwell, ultimately putting it in a stock pot and boiling it for
man.
days before it's ultimately discovered.
Why you gotta
Again,
make
the
that
crime
sound
scene
so
diagram demonstrates that
gross?
Miss Guy came up the stairs, took a left, went through the doggy door, and was ultimately.
Well, it's what all the
attacked
law
and
tube
murdered
talks
in
about is
location A.
storytelling, and some people suck at it. At least he's making it graphic enough for it makes
We
an
saw the
impact.
items, the
Yeah.
sewer line cleaner, the empty bottles, ladies and gentlemen, of sewer line cleaner, acid-based solution. Her clothing, underwear were cut off. Her bra was cut off. Her undershirt with numerous stab wounds was cut off. Her sweatshirt that she was wearing moments before was cut off. And Mr. Joel Guy Jr. accomplished that with the use of a kitchen knife. And with regard to acting intentionally, ladies and gentlemen, what did we hear from Dr. Haas? Dr. Haas testified
Yes,
that Ms.
Bradley,
Guy's
he didn't
well was,
really
disarticulated at the shoulders,
clean up like you should. Clean
at
up like
the
you should have.
knees,
Cleaned up.
No,
like
he
you
kind of
should
got
have.
lazy. Like
Yeah.
mid,
before she was
Yeah.
placed in
Mid
a acid-based
stabs.
solution
He's like, fuck.
and left to
I'm
dissolve.
done.
I'm over this.
What does that tell us, ladies and gentlemen? At least 31 stab wounds. I submit to you that is acting intentionally. That is someone who is trying to bring about the death of an alleged victim. Again, the judge will instruct you, what is acting intentionally legally? A person acts intentionally when it's the person's conscious objective or desire to cause the death of the alleged victim. Joel Guy Jr., the proof establishes in this case, acted intentionally when he stabbed his mother at least 31 times, dismembered her, and decapitated her. We saw the pictures of the back of Lisa Guy, and while they're hard to look at, they paint a picture. We heard about the tails and how these tails on these certain wounds are created and what causes those tails. And it's either the knife moving or the victim trying to move. We also learned that Lisa Guy had 5 stab wounds to her buttock, consistent with trying
I
to get
stabbed
away.
her in the butt.
Well,
With
yes.
a knife.
The diagrams that Dr. Haas provided us paint a picture. They tell us that not only did Lisa Guy have a tremendous gaping wound on her front, so did Joel Guy Sr. And I submit
That's
to you,
essentially
ladies
what he was trying
and
to
gentlemen,
do,
that is
Bradley.
for one purpose, and that is for this
He was just really bad
chemical-based
at it.
solution
Yeah.
to enter their main cavity to quicken the process of dissolving Joel Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy.
No, he hasn't been phased by any of these images, Ghost 3, the entire time.
Not even
What
a
else
little
did we
bit.
learn about the
Yeah, this
attack
is how
with regards
he's
to
been
Lisa
looking at
Guy?
him the whole trial.
She, like Joel Guy
He's had this
Senior,
smirk of
wounds that were at
joy.
least
Like
6 inches deep.
he's excited about it. You'll never change.
Yeah,
my
he's
mind on
reliving
that.
it.
To acting intentionally,
Yep.
stabbing someone.
Like
6
this is
inches
enjoyable for him.
Yeah.
Her injuries, significant injuries. She had injuries to her heart. She had injuries to her kidney, her spine. She had a hole in her back from an attack.
Holy
It just
shit.
She had
caused.
injuries to her lungs. And if
So
you look
just
at
cause?
the wounds on her back, that is not surprising. Dr. Murray Marks
Hey,
testified.
Deez.
You heard from him.
What's up, Deez?
And you heard about the injuries to her bones. Blunt force injuries with a knife entering with such a thrust that it cuts into her ribs, removes pieces of her ribs.
Oh,
You heard about the process of how Joe Michael Guy Jr. Decapitated her, how he did it awfully high on her neck, and he had to apply some degree of force to separate her head from her neck.
he may not be exciting, but he's hella descriptive.
Yeah.
Joe Guy
This
Jr.'s own
attorney.
words.
Yeah.
The book of premeditation. Remove her clothes and take them with me for disposal. Well, he achieved half his objective, ladies and gentlemen. He removed her clothes. And that's demonstrated by the pictures that were entered in evidence in this case. Investigator Sandy
Why
Campbell
didn't he
at the
just
crime
take
scene,
them off? Why did he
for
have
the
to
Knox
cut
County
them
Sheriff's
off?
Office. She recreated how
Probably
the
because he
items of clothing
took
were
pleasure in
physically
doing so.
removed and made sense of it in a way that we could understand it. Her pants
I
were
still
cut
think
in
there
back,
was some kind of sexual component
Up
to
each
this
leg.
crime.
Yeah.
through to the top,
I don't think they
stripped off
pushed
her
it
stabbed
because they
body.
didn't really need to. But
Her bra was cut.
Okay.
The rear of her underwear and the crotch area were cut.
Oh.
See.
He got up in there. Yeah.
Her undershirt, it's evident, ladies and gentlemen, was cut.
I agree, Gemini, 100%.
Yes.
Again, at least 31 stab wounds or incised wounds of the back, right buttock, and left side of the neck. We heard from Dr. Hawes that she was likely attacked from the front and the back, as well as Joel Guy Sr. Lisa Guy had a serious wound that went to the muscle on her clavicle area, and the main attack was to her backside. Joel Guy Sr. had stab wounds to his ribs, and again, the main attack was to his backside.
I think
Yes,
so too,
AP.
AP.
Yeah.
Joel Guy Jr. cut off his mother's sweatshirt, same sweatshirt she was wearing just moments earlier. And again, in looking at that through Sandy Campbell, evidence in this proof, proof in this case, we can see that this sweatshirt was cut off.
Red.
And what does Joel Michael Guy
I
Jr.
don't think he had
do
any experience with that.
after he kills his parents?
I mean, he did have that
He
quote
goes to
unquote
tend to
roommate,
himself.
so I don't know if he knew how.
He buys the
I don't think
requisite
the roommate
supplies he
wore-
needs to
wore a
treat
bra,
his
though.
wounds, that he obtained.
That's what I'm saying. The
fight
roommate
with
was
his dad.
the dude.
Joel Guy
so
Sr.
I don't think he
was
got
trying to
much
stop an
practice.
assault, a murder. So with regard to premeditated first-degree murder, ladies and gentlemen, the proof has showed to you, beyond a reasonable doubt, the three necessary elements. That the defendant unlawfully killed Lisa and Joel Guy Sr. He didn't have a reason to do so. He didn't act in self-defense. The proof has shown that he intentionally killed them. Again, Joel Guy Sr. stabbed at least 41 times. Lisa Guy is stabbed at least 32 times. When we consider premeditation, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to belabor the point, but we have him starting up to 19 days before the commission of these offenses, these brutal murders, purchasing supplies that he intends to use in his grand plan to obtain $500,000. We submit to you that the book of murder, the notebook that he drafted with his DNA on it, that is corroborated by every piece of evidence in this case, we submit to you that that shows premeditation beyond a reasonable doubt. Next, with regard to felony murder. As you know, Mr. Guy is charged with felony murder in 3 counts, 2 for the thefts that are committed in the perpetration of the killing, and 1 for the killing of Lisa Guy in the commission of killing Joel Guy Sr. So the elements for felony murder are a little bit different, and what the state must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt is that Joel Michael Guy Jr., again, unlawfully killed Joel Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy, and that the killing was committed in the perpetration of the theft. The theft in this case being the money transfers, the pills.
I never bought the theft,
defendant,
though.
Joel Michael Guy Jr. in possession
Yeah, it's a little
of his
hard
father's
to-
card that was used on the 27th
It's a stretch.
to make 3 significant
It
transactions.
just seems like too
The
much for
27th being a
Yeah.
day
the charges that they
after
were
the
able to
proof
prove. It
demonstrates
seems like them being a
the
little
victims were
heavy-handed.
slain in this case.
Yeah.
Furthermore, you saw the wallets, ladies and gentlemen. You saw the wallets laying
Absolutely
on the
fiery.
dining room table.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Joel Guy Sr.'s wallet empty. You saw on the video Lisa Guy shopping. She was in possession of that wallet just moments before she was murdered. You heard proof through Eddie Wassman at the Sheriff's Department, who specializes in forensic examination of electronic devices. You heard from him that on the 27th, in conducting a forensic analysis of the desktop computer that belonged to Joel Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy, that he came across transfers that were planned or happened on the 27th of November 2016. The first one being at 9:38 a.m. using card, ladies and gentlemen, 5773 for the amount of $1,025. 2 minutes later, same day, 9:40 a.m., same card, ending in 5773, was charged $1,589.78. 1 minute later, on the 27th of November 2016, card ending in 5773 was charged $2,051.03, all of which are going to the bursar operations. And we heard from Investigator Wassman that based on his investigation, he was able to determine that that was a payment to the Louisiana State University. Proof is established that Joel Michael Guy Jr. Was a student at Louisiana State University.
So he paid for his college out of the...
Again, in considering the crime
What an
scene,
idiot.
ladies and gentlemen, what you have up here is the guest bedroom. We've seen
A
ample
car,
pictures
maybe?
of the
Like,
guest bedroom, all the items
your
in the guest
tuition,
bedroom,
though?
but particularly next to
Right.
the bottle.
He
of
he
food-grade
legit thought he was getting away
hydrochloric
with this.
Joel Michael Guy
Yeah.
Jr.'s DNA and blood on there is a card that belongs to his father. A card that was used the day after
Thank God he
his
was
death,
lazy.
to make 3 money transfers. Close-up of that card. Again, last 4 digits, 5773. That is a theft that's committed in the perpetration of this murder, these murders. We
I
also
mean, when he
learned from
explains it like that, I
Eddie
guess you
Wassman
can
that
see the
upon
theft.
looking at the computer,
but-
there were transfers of Capital One, an account belonging to Joel Guy Sr. that occurred on 11/27/2016, 3:49 p.m. You have the SunTrust records before you, ladies and gentlemen. I would ask you to consider those. Look at those. They're in evidence. And what you'll find is that on the 27th, with a posting date of the 28th, a check card purchase from Joel Guy Sr.'s account was charged an amount of $3,090, particularly a organization, Submeter 1, in Louisiana. With regard to the pills, ladies and gentlemen, we've seen proof. Let's start with the kitchen. Let's start with the empty oxycodone bottle found next to the pot that Lisa Guy's head was simmering in for days after Joel Michael Guy Jr. left. We know that stove was on, based on the pictures you've seen, when investigators entered that residence at 11/434.
They find the
Golden View
pills on him or with him?
I think they were in
Lane.
his
Stop
dorm
there.
room.
We go up to
Okay.
the guest bedroom, and we have various prescription pills signed to Joel Michael Guy with the address of 11434 Golden View Lane. We have other pills that have been prescribed to Lisa Guy with an address of 11434 Golden View Lane. With regard to the felony murder, the judge is going to instruct you on some law that's helpful when determining this type of charge. And essentially, what's relevant in our argument is that the killing may precede, coincide with, or follow the theft. So the killing can occur before the theft and still be considered as occurring in the perpetration of the theft, so long as there is a connection in time, place, and continuity of action. Let's talk about first the connection in time, ladies and gentlemen. What do we know about the 26th? We know that Lisa Guy went to Walmart. We know that Joe Guy went to Walmart. We know that they were executed on the 26th. We know that he had a plan to murder his father and wait until his mother was out before he murdered her. Connection in time. Demonstrated here. We know that at 3:26, Joel Michael Guy Jr. is entering Walmart Turkey Creek here in Knox County, Tennessee, with bandages on his hands. We know that he used cash. We know that it occurred on 11/26 at 15:35, which translates to 3:35. Connection in place. Ladies and gentlemen, the proof has showed to you and demonstrated that all the offenses charged in this case occurred here in Knox County, Tennessee, specifically at the 11-434.
I don't like how he says offenses either. That bothers me.
That would be the murders of Joe Guy Sr. and Lisa Guy, as well as the thefts.
I just don't like the way he
Joe Guy
talks.
Jr. didn't leave
Or his
until
voice.
the late hours of the
He just
27th
shut
into
up.
the 28th. That's when he spotted
Yeah,
getting
his
back
voice.
to Louisiana by the use of the license plate reader through Vigilant Solutions.
Makes me want to go to Walmart and buy a stock pot.
Continuity of action. What this case shows us is that there's no broken plan after the homicide has been committed. There's no broken plan after the thefts have been
Give
committed.
Bobby the
The
ketchup.
only broken plan here is Joel Michael Guy Jr. leaving to tend to his wounds.
Bobby really
He wasn't
isn't
done.
here.
He had a plan to light this house on
What
fire.
the hell, Bobby?
He had a plan to bring 4 5-gallon tanks of gasoline with him. He had a plan to use commercial timers to ignite a fire. He had a plan to light in electronics, namely a hair curler and a hair dryer to start a fire. He was not done. There's another count of felony murder that deals with the killing committed during the perpetration of the first-degree premeditated murder of Joel Guy Sr. Essentially, that's dealing with Lisa Guy being the victim in this count, where she is murdered during the commission of Joel Guy Sr.'s premeditated first-degree murder. And again, I don't want to belabor it, but we know that it's in the commission based on Joel Guy Jr.'s own words, his own words. From his book
Just
of
stop
premeditation.
saying belabor, please.
Again, it's relevant here. The killing may precede, coincide with, or follow the first-degree murder of Joel Guy Sr. and still be considered as
He's
occurring
doing
in
it like it's a
perpetration
law
of the murder of
school
Joel Guy
class.
Sr., so long as
Yeah,
there's
and
I think
that's
that's what I don't
connection in
like.
time,
yeah.
place, and continuity of action. We believe that the proof in this case certainly establishes that, ladies and gentlemen. Next, we have 2 counts dealing with the abuse of a corpse, namely the corpse of Lisa Guy and of Joel Guy Sr. And what we have to prove to you,
Well, there's only 2
beyond reasonable
corpses,
doubt, is that the
so
defendant, Joel Guy Jr., did physically mistreat a corpse in a manner offensive to the sensibilities of an ordinary person, and that the defendant acted without legal privilege to do so. In other words, he's not a medical examiner, he's not a coroner.
Did you ever look for
He acted without the legal
Nishimura?
privilege to do
I don't know
so,
what the hell that
and we
means,
have to
Heather.
establish that he acted knowingly. So what is the proof demonstrated to us with regard to the abuse of a corpse of Lisa Guy? The decapitation with thermal changes of head. That's abuse of a corpse, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't have a legal standing to decapitate his mother, Lisa Guy, and to simmer her head for 2 days. He didn't have a legal right to dismember or disarticulate Lisa Guy at the head, the shoulders, the knees, one hand.
I thought he was going to say toes.
He didn't have legal rights
shoulders, knees, and
to
toes.
put Lisa Guy in an acid-based solution and leave her to dissolve. With regard to the abuse of the corpse of Joel Guy Sr., he did not have a legal right to disarticulate his father or dismember his father at the hands, at the arms, at the shoulders, at the hips. He did not have a legal right to then place his father in an acid-based solution in an attempt to dissolve him.
Huh. No, I haven't seen anything about that, Desert. I'll look at it.
Now, the judge is going to instruct you regarding what flight is, what the flight is of a person accused, and I ask you to pay attention to that, ladies and gentlemen, particularly as it relates to these facts. And essentially, you'll hear it again from the judge, but the flight of a person accused of a crime is a circumstance which, when considered with all the facts of the case, may justify an inference
Sound like a
of guilt.
law professor.
Flight is the voluntary withdrawal of oneself for the purpose of evading arrest or prosecution for the crime charged.
Good night, Brian.
You will also hear an instruction on tampering
Good night,
with
Brian.
evidence, and I ask you to pay attention to that as it applies to this case as well. The judge will instruct you as to that. Last, ladies and gentlemen, look at the pictures in this case. The house demonstrates the love that the guys had for their only son. Joel and Lisa Guy, they did love Joel Guy Jr. We've heard proof from sisters who testified they had a loving family. We heard proof that they supported their only son. In fact, the only reason Lisa Guy worked was to support Joel Guy Jr. while he attended school in Louisiana. Proof in this case demonstrates that Lisa Guy and Joel Guy Sr. suffered. They suffered a great deal. Think about the exercise room, ladies and gentlemen, the struggle, the wounds to Joel Guy Sr.'s hands. Ultimately, they didn't deserve his death. Their lives mattered. And we ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to consider all the proof in this case and render the only just verdict. Given these facts, we ask that you hold Joel Guy Jr. accountable and that you find him guilty as charged. Thank you.
No,
Thank
thank
God.
goodness.
Mr. Halstead, would the defense like to make a closing argument?
Here's the defense. He didn't do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I first want to say thank you again for sitting through this. I know it's been difficult, but we're close to the end. That weekend, Joel Guy was outgoing, friendly, and happy in a way Michelle Tyler had never seen him before. Outgoing, friendly, and happy.
What the fuck?
That's not a good...
That was
No.
a man about to
Why would you
commit
say that?
homicide. Outgoing, friendly, and happy. You saw it in the picture from the
Like he has
front
been
porch.
in this courtroom the whole fucking time?
Smiling,
Yeah.
happy. That's who Joel Guy was that weekend. He was not someone
That
planning
weekend?
on committing a murder.
Oh, come on now.
And remember the facts of the case. His father
sauce,
was stabbed
corrosive.
at least 41 times, his mother at least 32 times. That is anger, that is rage, that is not happy and outgoing.
That's his
And
defense?
he's way too fat to
We
stab
heard
him 41
family
times.
testimony that they plan to cut him off financially at Christmas. This
Motivation?
was not Christmas. This was not when that was going to occur. That's why we have to look at every fact to see if this adds up. Because just from that very start,
Yeah, that was
It
the
wasn't
motivation.
Christmas,
Of
it
it.
was only
Outgoing.
Thanksgiving.
friendly,
Yeah.
and happy does not add
It was
up
the
to
happiest
what
of
happened.
Thanksgivings. He would never do
Rage,
this.
anger, and
Stupid.
death.
Oh, this is the worst defense closing I've
The
ever
phone
heard.
call to Michael McCracken. Mr. Guy never
I want to become a
says
lawyer,
that he
and that's what
killed
I'm going
anybody.
to say. This was
Mr.
Thanksgiving.
McCracken never asked
So
him,
happy.
did he kill anybody?
It wasn't
There's
Christmas.
really no reference. It's just kind of this snippet of a call taken out of somewhere else, but we don't know what it's really about. We know he's feeling sad. We know he's telling Michael this should be goodbye. But we don't know that he's committing or admitting to a homicide.
He didn't say it explicitly.
Now, the
he
state
just
tells us to
heavily-
store videos, Ace
Yeah.
Hardware. Well, you can see him purchasing the food grade hydrogen peroxide. You can't. You can't tell what that is. You can't tell what any of those containers are from Ace. We don't have a receipt. We don't know what was bought at Ace Hardware.
That's your defense?
The notebook, they tell us, well, they did note DNA on the outside of the notebook. So that means at some point, someone touched the outside of that notebook. What about DNA on the writing on the inside? When you write, your hand's often in contact with the paper.
Really?
Touch DNA would be all over that. That's the thing that you want to know, isn't it? Is his
bad.
DNA on the part where there's a writing? We didn't do that.
oh.
5 pages, we could have done that. Hand on the paper when you're writing. They didn't do that.
And you could have. too.
And on the fingerprints, we know that if someone
Say
touches
that.
something, like I touch this, my print stays there. It stays there until it's removed. It's removed by my hand touching again, or by someone cleaning, or it's not removed. It can stay there. It doesn't go away. You heard what the officer said. Does the heat melt them? Does it dry? No, it can bake them in. So the fact that his fingerprints are at some point on some object doesn't mean that that's necessarily related to this homicide.
Yeah. Who would think that?
This is so dumb.
And on the notebook, they also did not bring in a handwriting sample to say, yes, this is his writing. The burden is on them to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. And they didn't do that.
Well,
His car being seen by Vigilant Technology in Mississippi. Newsflash, he did come up for Thanksgiving. Newsflash, he did go home. That tells us absolutely nothing.
newsflash. Stop saying newsflash, idiot.
Newsflash, he killed his
Clearly,
parents.
we
Oh,
know at
shit.
some point
I
he
mean,
hurt his hand, but that doesn't tell us when or how
I mean, he
hurt
didn't kill his
hand.
parents.
The fact he's
What
getting
the-
medicine for his hand does not tell us anything about the homicide.
yeah, I just get defensive stab wounds in my
And
hands all the
again,
time.
on
Yeah.
the DNA,
Mm-hmm.
It's a
they
curse.
get to pick and choose what they tested.
Well, you did stab
Kim
yourself
Lowe
that one day.
decided she just wasn't going to test some
Well.
things that she decided weren't relevant. For example, the kitchen glove.
Hey, what's up,
Well,
Stevie?
of course, if a kitchen glove's
Hey,
in a
Steve.
house, you might have used it at any point.
How you doing, buddy?
So what's the significance of testing that? I said, what about the kitchen glove in the master bathroom? Do you cook in the master bathroom? Do you do dishes in the master bathroom? And that's where the bodies were?
Really?
Don't need to test that. That's not going to tell us anything at all. The clothes of Ms. Guy, we're not even going to look at them. We're told they were cut off. That means someone's hand is coming in contact with the clothes,
My-
and we know exactly where
Seriously,
they're coming into contact
no.
with the clothes because
Wait.
it's exactly where they're being cut.
No.
No need to test that for touch DNA. Didn't even look at it.
I want to put his head in a crock
But
pot
then,
in
10
Minecraft.
days before trial,
This guy
suddenly
is
they
just,
decide they have
he's
to
kind
test
of
2 more knives, and suddenly, in a rush,
He's
they can
kinda
get us 2
slimy.
more knives worth of DNA.
Yes.
I think he knows damn well
We
what
pick and
happened
choose.
there.
We just don't know if it's
I
all
mean,
accurate.
but the other DNA, that doesn't.
You notice we didn't have any
Right.
questions for the
Yeah,
medical examiner.
the
or
other DNA doesn't matter.
pathologist.
Don't worry about that.
We don't
I'm not paying
deny
attention
that
to
this was
the
a
other
terrible,
DNA.
awful thing that
We got to
happened
get
to the
touch
parents.
DNA
The
off
question
jeans
is,
and panties
did
and
Joel
bras.
Guy do it? Not was this
And
bad.
notebooks.
So we didn't waste your time asking additional questions about that. We saw a ton of pictures. It felt like we saw everything in that house 4 times. Picture, 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 video. None of it really had anything to do.
It's called evidence,
Life.
dumbass.
Yes. He
None
went
of it
back to
had his
Louisiana.
parents cut up in a fucking
That was the
Rubbermaid
plan
container had
all along,
nothing to
wasn't
do
it?
with anything.
Son going to come
Yeah.
up for Thanksgiving.
They just
Holy
magically
shit.
appear
Back
there.
home. That's all we know. We don't know anyone was chasing him back to Louisiana. And where did he go? Where was he arrested?
Really?
At his apartment. He wasn't fleeing. He wasn't hiding. He went home.
Oh my.
We believe the state has not proven any of these charges beyond a reasonable doubt. So we ask that you find Mr. Guy
Are you
not guilty.
serious?
That's funny. That's funny.
General.
Oh my.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and
Oh
gentlemen.
wow.
They didn't prove it. Prove it. He didn't do it.
I'm not going to go over
Wait, we did.
every article of evidence that
Oh,
was
I
collected
can't.
in this case. You've been very patient all week, and you've heard
They've asked 2
you've heard a
total
lot
questions,
of testimony,
and he's like,
you,
"No,
saw
wasn't
the
us."
laborious
Yeah, I
process
know.
that we go through to introduce evidence.
Oh, my.
And, I
No,
just
he
wanted to
wasn't
direct your
happy.
attention
He's
to
been
that
smiling and getting
law.
off on this the whole fucking
There are a lot
time.
of
Yeah.
questions
It was a
Mr.
happy
Halstead
weekend,
really,
though.
he kind of has a point that not everything, every tiny
It wasn't
piece of
Christmas.
each piece of evidence was swabbed and
Thanksgiving.
analyzed.
Oh no.
And there is a reason for that, you know, and it's called resources.
Holy hell.
But I want you to keep in mind when you go back there to deliberate about the evidence that you do have. And I particularly
All
want to
of
talk
it?
about the notebook because, you know, I think what Agent Lowe told you was that she
I wouldn't rebut
examined
anything
the
here.
notebook
I
No.
and
because
took
if you
swabs
start
from the place most
if you start
likely
validating what
to
that guy just
leave
said, then
touch
you bring in
DNA
doubt.
evidence.
Yeah.
And that was
In
the
my
purpose
mind, at
of the
least.
Say
notebook,
no. Yeah,
which is,
no.
Say this
I don't
guy's
know if I
a
would call
fucking
it
idiot,
slick,
and you
but it's
just
something
let
that
him
she
go
as
deliberate.
As
Yeah.
an expert and
This
as
is the
somebody
wrong
who,
move.
Yeah.
takes samples and knows where to look and how to look for DNA deposits. She picked the most likely place, and she found it. She found the defendant's DNA on the notebook, and you know, circumstantially, ladies and gentlemen, when you consider that that notebook came from a backpack that was found in the room where his sister testified that he was staying on the Thanksgiving holiday, it makes sense that it's the defendant's notebook and the defendant's writing. I would also point out to you that inside that backpack were several books that you saw in Technician Sandlin published to you, and on the inside of those books was the defendant's name, Joel Guy. So the books that
wrote
were
his
in the
name on it.
backpack belonged to him.
Wasn't his.
The
He wrote
notebook
his name on
had
it.
his DNA
Yeah.
on it, and the backpack was found in the
This
room
is
where
so
he was
dumb.
staying. So you don't have to be, you know, just an expert in logic.
Don't say it.
To make the connections that the notebook
She was
is
going to say
his.
rocket scientist.
But I would
and
also
I
like
know.
really
for you
pissed.
to consider the writing itself in the notebook, and there are references in those writings, despite the fact that there's no handwriting expert here. And if we did have one, the defense would be saying that that's junk science and you can't prove it. But you know, there are references
Exactly.
in the notebook that
Yeah.
It was,
indicate that
Romeo and
the
Juliet
person who is writing
just
this
to frame
is
their
the defendant.
worthless ass
Why
son.
else would he say that his DNA would be found inside the house? I mean, logically,
The
why would
defense closing
anybody
was
other than
laughable.
The defendant write something like that
It was-
in the
it was
notebook that
ridiculous.
has the defendant's DNA on the outside of it, in the notebook that's found in the defendant's backpack, along with other books that belong to the defendant. Throughout this writing, he makes references to things that only he would know about. his mother's insurance policy, the fact that he would be the beneficiary, the fact that he had done calculations to examine his parents' assets, his father's assets, his mother's assets, the language, all mine, I get the whole thing. I mean, who else other than the defendant would be writing these things in this notebook that has his DNA on it that was found in his backpack along with his books, the backpack being in the room where he stayed the weekend of these murders. So, and that's just with respect to the backpack.
She's like, bro, we can't prove this anymore. We really just can't.
His DNA is found on a number of other articles of evidence that Agent Lowe examined in places where, really, how could you come to the conclusion that anyone other than him is the killer? Why would his DNA be on all of the 6 gloves, all of them, that she examined? 6 gloves. She told you that she examined the stained side of the gloves, which indicates, blood, and the non-stained side, the inside where the gloves have been taken off, the inside out. His DNA. Also, on some of the gloves, his mother's DNA, which indicates that he was wearing gloves and indicates that at some point his mother's blood got on at least one of these gloves. So, why? Why would he be wearing gloves?
I didn't see that. Ezra says the parents killed each other to frame him.
Gloves that were bloodstained.
Yeah, that's why I said the Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah. Okay.
In the closet of the room where he was staying that weekend. Why would he have a box of gloves on top of his dresser? Why would there be a discarded glove?
I hope Daz is just being an asshole.
He was staying. Think about it, and think about the fact that he noted in his notebook that he needed to wear gloves. That was something that he considered. Wear gloves and socks, because he's very conscious in his writing that gloves and socks will cover up or prevent the deposit of DNA evidence. Now, the state doesn't know and can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt when he made that notebook. But circumstantial proof shows that it happened before the murders and that it happened as early as November the 7th of 2016. And you saw the video evidence. I'm not going to replay that, but we know that he went to several business locations, including the Ace Hardware store.
Yeah, so let's stop talking about
November
this.
the 7th.
Because you're just confusing people at this point.
That
you're over-explaining.
Was referenced on a note that was found inside the suitcase that was found in the floor of the room where he was staying on this Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Dan Boudreaux's Ace Hardware.
Oh, wait, they made him sleep on the floor?
Louisiana.
Never mind, he's totally justified.
Okay.
He's a grown-ass man, and they made him sleep on the
He
floor?
went to a Lowe's in Gonzales, Louisiana.
Wow.
And made a purchase, and you can look at the videos yourself. And we know that he went to an Academy Sports
for a week
and bought a knife, and that knife is the knife that was found on the bathroom counter of the guest bathroom that he used, according to his sister, Michelle Tyler. And we know that his DNA was found on that knife, along with, I believe, the DNA of, I think, his mother. So where else did he go in Louisiana? He went to a Home Depot, and he went to a Walmart, and you saw him purchase this tub, okay? And you know from Michelle Denison Tyler's testimony that she saw this tub or these tubs in his car on Thanksgiving weekend. So we know that he brought them up. And I submit to you that it's logical to assume that he had inside those tubs the chemicals that he had purchased in Louisiana. And I want you to think about, too, why would he bother to go to different stores in different locations? Why was he careful to purchase these items in areas outside of Baton Rouge? Baton Rouge isn't a huge town, but he could have bought all of these things in one place. This is
Walmart has
these are the
everything you need
actions
to
of
kill
somebody
somebody,
who is trying
dispose of the
to
body.
avoid detection.
One-stop
He's
shop.
trying not to call attention to himself. He doesn't want to purchase a huge amount of chemical products all at one time because that looks weird. And a clerk might remember that. You might remember if you sell gallons of muriatic acid and food-grade hydrogen peroxide and sewer line cleaner to somebody, a young man, that might be something that sticks in your memory. But if you buy one or two things at a time, it's unlikely that a clerk will remember that. And I want you to think about, too, why he used cash. It's not that common. I mean, I never have cash in my pocket. It's kind of unusual that he would use cash in every transaction, and I submit to you that he did that to avoid detection, to make it harder for the police to track his actions, to be able to establish a pattern, a chain of where
I don't
he
know,
went
Desi.
in the days
Happens far too often, though.
preceding these homicides.
They all need to
Ladies
lapel
and
mics.
gentlemen,
Yep.
there is abundant DNA evidence at the scene showing that the defendant is connected to these homicides. Abundant. And it wasn't necessary for Agent Lowe to test and swab every surface of every piece of evidence that you witnessed us introducing this week. Now, I want you to consider, too, that maybe you can't see exactly the things on those videos that the defendant was purchasing, but think about what we did see at his parents' house. There were bags indicating the names of the stores where he had gone. Walmart bags, Home Depot bags and products, Lowe's bags and products. So again, circumstantially, all of this fits together to show that he purchased those products in and around the area where he lived, and he transported them to Knoxville, and he did so with the purpose of getting rid of the remains of his parents. And why did he want to do that? It's about money. And that sounds so terrible to think that you could kill your mother and your father for money, but that's really pretty much what it all boils down to. And that is evidenced also by his writing, by the notebook. Money, all mine. He had made calculations. He had thought about it. He spent some time. I mean, it's sort of a meticulous account of his intentions. And in a case where somebody is charged with premeditated murder, and I've tried many premeditated homicides, usually you have to put premeditation together circumstantially. And many times I have argued to a jury that you will have to put facts A, B, C, D, and E together to prove this element of premeditation. It's not like you'll have a notebook or an outline or a diary entry that's going to tell you every time. And how ironic that I finally got a case where I have that. That's exactly what we have. We have basically what amounts to a diary that outlines a plan of intention to kill.
You're making cynical people ask questions.
And there it is. So I want you to think about this motive for money in the context of this time. Now, Mr. Halstead is correct. One of the sisters, I believe it was Renee Charles, testified, one of the sisters of Joel Sr., testified that she knew her brother had plans, his intention for the future. He was going to let his son know during the Christmas holiday that he was going to be cut off financially. But the daughters knew ahead of time.
You didn't hear me snort,
they
did you?
knew, I think by
No.
as early as October the 28th,
Oh, good.
I believe one of them
'Cause they
testified.
totally did.
I heard you
that the parents
laugh,
were
but I think you
considering this
muted
because
before you
don't make the
snorted and
plan
moved
to
away.
retire,
Oh,
on the
well,
spur
that's
of the
good,
moment.
because I totally snorted.
This is something that you think about, believe me, I've been thinking about it quite a lot lately. You think about it days, weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years in advance. And this was a close family. They like to talk. And they discuss these plans, and you just can bet that Lisa guy, who was Mr. Joel Guy Jr.'s biggest fan, his enabler, his supporter, you know that she told him.
Enabler is right.
She had to tell him in advance what he was in for, what was coming up for him. You know that happened. If they're talking about it with Michelle and Angela and Joel Sr.'s sisters in October and November, you know that the defendant knew about it, and you know that his mother told him. So he knew what was coming. And he's smart. He's smart enough to know that once his mom retires, once she quits her job, that insurance money is gone. He isn't getting that. He's not getting that. And he's not used to supporting himself. He's used to having the support and care from his mother, primarily, taking care of his needs, providing him with an apartment, with utilities, with a car, gas money, paying his bills, his tuition, paying for his books, paying for everything. He's used to having her pay for everything. And he wasn't about
Parents
to
don't
let
do that,
them
folks.
cut him off. That
Nope.
was not going to happen. These
Then you
people,
get kids like this.
they were not going to
Put your head in a crock pot.
disrupt
I mean,
his comfortable
dang it, a
life.
stock pot.
He wasn't going to permit it. He would rather see
Bobby's
them
fault,
dead
not yours.
than let that
Yeah.
happen.
He had it in my head.
And that's what he planned, and that's what he did.
Well, he had her head in
And
it.
then he used
Yeah.
their money, you know, not just, he didn't, it's sort of like a double motive. He wants to do it for the insurance money, but he also
Hey,
wants to
shut
get
up, you
what he
got
can
it. It's a
while
slam
he
Yeah,
can.
dunk.
I want
you
to think
won.
about
Get
that,
the
too.
fuck off.
He
Just
made
go.
these transactions after he murdered them.
You're gonna talk yourself
within
out
a
of the
very
win.
short time period, which I submit to you is during the course of the homicides, because it's all part of the same incident. He pays his tuition in advance. He pays a bill in advance, which Michelle Tyler told you was his utilities. Michelle said that he paid his apartment rent in advance. He talks to Michael McCracken about paying his rent in advance. Now, why do you think he did that? I was puzzled over this.
Because
I thought,
he's
how in the
responsible.
world would he be so quick
You're an upstanding
to
citizen.
pay everything in advance? Why would you do that? You know why you would do that? Because it takes a while for an estate to be settled. It takes a while for an insurance company to make the decision to give you money. He needed a cushion. He needed about 3 or 4 months of his bills being paid while he waited to collect. Well, he waited to collect on his mother's insurance. So that's why those things were paid in advance, and that's why he did it in a hurry. He did it during the course and commission of these homicides. Outgoing, friendly, and happy.
This is good
Now, I bet he
financial
was.
planning, actually.
That he felt very outgoing and friendly and happy. Michelle Tyler told you that that was unusual. Okay, his demeanor on Thanksgiving was strange. He was usually distant. He was usually kept to himself. He didn't interact a lot with his family.
No, we couldn't tell.
Much
No.
of a relationship with his family, and there are reasons
He gave
for
all
that.
of his
and I think
priceless
Mr.
Beanie
Stevens
Babies away.
explored that with Mr. Guy's only friend, Michael McCracken. You know, he lived away. He lived in Baton Rouge. He didn't live in Burgoynesville. He didn't live in Knoxville. He had no reason really to have close relations with people who were older than him and who lived in different places. But
That's odd. Don't do that.
you know, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, that's
despite that,
No.
these were people who were close, a caring family, a loving family, and they all knew each other's business, and they all knew exactly what was going on, and they all knew about the plans that Joel and Lisa had to retire and to take a break from life. Okay?
They got a
And,
break. An eternal break.
And Why would he be
He was just
outgoing
helping
and
him out.
happy
Shit.
Yeah.
when he had been distant from
Earlier
them in
than
the
they
past?
planned.
Well, I submit
Yeah.
to you, it's because he was getting
They
ready
won the lottery then.
to get what he wanted, to implement his plan. He wanted to deflect attention from himself. He wanted
get
to be
paid by the
nice.
word
He was
maybe.
playing nice. In his
Apparently.
mind, he's thinking, well, I'm going to not give them any reason to suspect me. I'm not going to act like I'm mad. I'm not going to show them I'm mad. I'm going to make an effort to talk to the grandsons, my nephews. I'm going to give away my toys. I'm going to give away my Beanie Babies. I'm going to speak to Michelle. I'm going to interact. You know, I'm going to make this a nice holiday for everyone. So when ultimately
it'll be their
the
last.
bodies are discovered, people are
If
going to
I could
reflect
skip
back,
through
and they're
this, I
going
would.
to be able to say, well, you know, Joel Michael was nice that weekend. He was in a good mood. He was okay. But it was an act. It was a show.
Yes, just cause.
And it was
Don't knock my Beanie Babies just cause.
it was to deflect attention from himself.
I have a
if he had
tub somewhere
acted
in the
angry,
house.
If he'd had an argument with his mother, if he'd had it out with mom and dad,
90s
babies
babies.
going to cut him off. I mean, how would that look when their
Derby
bodies turn up
is
at-
my favorite one.
later, or
The
maybe
racehorse
their
with
bodies
the
don't
white
turn up
spot on his
because he
head.
actually carries out his
yeah.
entire plan and is able to flush them into the public waterway.
I liked Valentino
Mr. Sanchez was right. He didn't
because
finish,
he was
okay?
born on, it was my
At some point, he
birthday.
gave up. He ran out of steam. He ran out of energy. You heard Dr. Marks. It's hard. It's hard work to get rid of two human beings.
Oh,
was
and
hard to kill
Seaweed the
them.
otter?
It wasn't easy.
Otter was pretty
And it's
cool.
much harder work to take them apart, to cut off their limbs, to transport them into whatever vessel you bring to dissolve them.
And the
in.
llama
It's
I have
hard
on my
work to
desk.
lug all those big, heavy products around.
The no drama llama?
And especially when you're hurt.
Yes.
Because it wasn't so easy to kill dear old Dad. Daddy put up a fight. And the defendant got injured.
No, it's
And
Lily.
he basically
the
wimped
llama.
out. He gave up. He wimped
Fuck all your
out
Beanie
and,
Babies. You learn their
left.
names. Yeah.
And you might find
Yeah.
it curious to see that on that Vigilant,
When you're a
those
90s
Vigilant
baby,
Solutions records, he actually
what you
is
do?
traveling back toward
You're
Knoxville
like a
at some
total
point.
loser.
Yeah.
Was he coming back to finish the job? We will never know.
And
That's something
Furbies?
that the state can't prove. All we can prove is that he left shortly after midnight on the 28th and was back in Baton Rouge when he was arrested on November the 29th. We can't prove what happened between those times. Let's talk about how hard it was to kill Mom and Dad. I want you to think about the last moments that Joel Guy Sr. spent on this earth. He was attacked by his
I'm
own
thinking about the
son.
last moments I spend on this
He had to
fucking
fight
earth if
him
you don't
off.
stop.
I
It was a
know.
fierce fight. You saw the evidence in that room. I don't have to show it to you again.
Yes, please
You saw
don't.
his hands, both of his hands. At some point, that man had his hands on the knife.
Yeah,
that
don't
his son
belabor
was using to
the
kill him.
point.
And he knew
or
it
the
was
Hold that
pictures.
knife
Face
into
him.
yourself.
He was stabbed in the gut. He knew his attacker. Think about that.
Lady, we got this.
Think about that.
Homeboy,
Think about the
before
blood
you
in that
said
room.
this.
Think about that corner. Think about the thrashing about. It's no surprise that the defendant
Bobby's
was
corner.
hurt. It's no surprise at all he was hurt in that struggle. And he must have been feeling some pain when he had to kill his poor mother. There she was at Walmart at 12:18.
No idea where that just came from,
How
but
tragic
I enjoyed it.
her last moments on the were at a Walmart, buying bacon and sausage and food to prepare a
beer.
nice breakfast, probably for
Sausage,
your
you
dear
say?
son who was home for one of his few visits. There she was, purchasing things to take care of her boy, getting him ice cream. Getting him ice cream.
The ice cream was for
Watching
herself.
her put on her jacket because
Yeah.
it was cold. It's very heartbreaking. Watching her push that buggy, knowing where she's going. thinking about her pulling up to the driveway, to that garage. The garage door that wouldn't open. We don't know why it wouldn't open. Most of us pull into our garage, and especially if the kitchen is next to it, most people don't bring their groceries in through the front door, do they? Don't you usually bring them in from the garage into the kitchen? But for some reason, she had to come through the front door.
Fuck, does any of that matter?
I know.
Did she have to knock at the door? I don't know. Was she able to
It's
get
just
in?
us.
Probably. He probably took the doorknob and the realtor lock off after the fact. Okay, he had several hours to fiddle with the scene after he had killed his parents. But Lisa came home, and she lugged all of those bags of groceries in by herself, and she got them in.
It just keeps getting grayer, Dazzler.
And, something
Yeah.
made her go upstairs.
Like, oh, he had plenty of time to move the crime scene around. Okay,
was
so
it?
it's not what it
Did she
how
hear
it was?
the struggle between
What
her
did he
son
move
and her
around
husband?
then?
Did she? Or did he call her? Did he tell her to come upstairs? Did he say, "Mother, I'm hurt"?
Mother.
We don't know. We'll never know. All we
Ma'am.
know is that when she got to the top of the stairs, there he was. And he had a knife. And
Do you
he
think you'd be the
stabbed
type to call
When
her
she saw
mother?
him, She
No.
was stabbed in the clavicle.
Ma?
She saw this boy,
Yeah, something like that.
her only child. You heard the testimony about how much she loved him.
This is completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
100%.
Worked
Because now
only
you're
to
making it
support him.
you're making it weird.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have doubt. And I just watched the trial.
Cut her up.
Yeah.
He cut her up.
Mommy.
And then he cut her clothes off her body.
Oh, mother.
He cut off her jeans. He cut off her panties. He cut off her shirt. He cut off her bra. He took off her ring. And he left it in the floor.
Okay, you're making it weird.
Cut off her head. He cut off his mother's head. He cut off
This
his
is fucking-
father's
this is
clothes.
getting
He
odd.
pulled his
Yeah,
jeans
it's-
down.
it's-
He
I don't
piled it
know
all
what
up
to s-
beside him.
it's
He left his cigarettes.
Weird.
Joel Sr.'s cigarettes, bloody pack on top.
This is getting
That struck me as
uncomfortably
an act
weird.
of contempt, you know. Here's your smokes, Dad. That's
Not
what he
hot?
did. And he did it for money. And after he killed her,
Well, $20
I
is
don't know
$20
what time
bucks.
it was.
but-
It was probably sometime after 12:30. He
69
left
for
their bodies to
69.
cool off, you know.
Yep.
But he was hurt, and he had to go take
I
care
ain't
of
scared to
himself.
put my feet over my head.
Do you remember seeing
Hold
Lisa's
ankles in my
purse
face
on
in the
that?
same
It was
picture?
the kitchen table, not the dining room table, and her wallet. He had done that. Okay, the police didn't do that. The defendant had gone through her purse and had taken out her wallet and his father's wallet, and he got money. Okay, he needed cash. Lisa Guy paid for the medical supplies that he bought to treat his hands that he hurt when he was killing his father. And then just as calmly as you please, he goes to the Walmart. He goes through the doors, and he goes to the medical department, and he buys his bandages, and he buys hydrogen peroxide, 2 bottles of it, 2 big bottles of rubbing alcohol, because you know what? Rubbing alcohol and peroxide in small, even small bottles can destroy evidence. They can clean
2020
your
or
wounds, but they can also
2021
clean
goes through.
things off. Like that K-bar knife, for example, that's on the bathroom counter. She paid for his medical supplies. She paid
She
for
would have
all of
anyways.
this. Okay? Because she was supporting him. And think about that. She paid for the drain cleaner she was dissolved in.
Okay, this is
Enough.
enough.
That's so
acid.
funny. You dumb bitch. Shut
She
up
paid
and sit
for the
down.
work
Yes,
lights that
stop.
he
Like,
thought he was going to need. She paid for the
fuck, you're-
sledgehammer. She paid for the timers. She paid for the plastic sheeting.
We
She
get
paid
it.
for that garden hose. She paid for the small sprayer in the master bathroom. She paid for the big sprayer, the bleach sprayer that was left in the floor of the kitchen. She paid
Sweet.
for those
Nobody
garbage
gives a
bags.
shit.
She paid for his socks. She paid for his red potato salad that he got when he was buying his medical supplies because he worked up an appetite after all of that, and he was in the mood for some red potato salad. Think about that. Think about that.
And then
She
the
paid
Joker
for the
laugh?
tubs
That's kind of
that
weird.
she and her
Weird.
husband disintegrated in.
I'd be like, Your Honor, we
She
think that this
worked
bitch
all
killed her
those years at Jacob
Yeah.
Engineering
because she's
to
too
put
excited
him
about it.
Mm-hmm.
to keep him in his lifelong whatever program he's in at LSU.
She paid for my gray hair,
You know
and
what,
I'm a
ladies and
tight
gentlemen?
handoff.
She was still looking for a job in Seguinsville. Do you remember Renee Charles telling you that? She wasn't going to cut him off. She was going to find a job up there. She was going to keep supporting him. Oh my goodness.
So, yes. Oh my goodness.
Are we
She
done
gave
now?
him everything he wanted. And then she had the nerve
To cut him off.
to tell him that
We get it.
they
You
were
got- yeah.
tired and needed a break. Nobody else had a reason to do this, okay? No one else. And the proof in this case isn't strong. It isn't
genitals.
Subgendered.
it isn't anything other than
That Rand did make her wet.
overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time that old cooch has been wet in probably a decade.
And we ask you to consider everything in this case, and we ask you to convict him of premeditated murder,
Yes, please.
convict him of
Oh, God,
felony
please
murder.
do it.
That's enough. Come on.
And
I would stand up right now as a juror and be like, if you shut the
Abusing the
fuck up, can I
corpses
just vote
of
to
his
convict
mother and
him,
his
like,
father.
right
Yeah.
now?
thank you.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to take one
Oh,
last
Jesus
recess. When
Christ.
you come back, I will read you the instructions of law. After
We're
that,
not
you'll
listening
begin
to
your
that.
deliberations to make a decision
I
in the
cut that
case.
out.
We're not there just
Deal with
yet, though, so please continue not to discuss this case among yourselves with anyone else. You may leave your notebooks and chairs. This will be a 10-minute recess. Please go with the officers.
Please subscribe to my erotic fan fiction site as well. That's what you probably should have ended with.
Yeah.
Would have been more believable.
Right.
God, he's such a creep.
Mm-hmm. I'm so done
I
with
left those
him.
in just so everybody could see how much of a creep he was one last time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks, take a recess till 2:20. 2:20 recess.
Oh, that's a nice looking flaw.
Mm-hmm.
I could have cut this part out though, eh?
Yeah. Oh no.
All right, everyone, you may be seated. All right.
You heard it that time,
everybody
didn't
has
you?
seen our jury come in this morning. Does the state waive the call of the jury? Yes. Defense waive the call? Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for being here timely this morning. I see you are the same
Just
12 jurors
cause.
we've been with all week. So at this time, I'm going to allow you to resume your deliberations. Our exhibits are right here. I'm going to bring them over to your jury room in just a moment. But at this time, take your notebooks with you, go with the officers, and resume your deliberations.
Shit, did I cut that weird?
Damn it, my dog pulled my headphones out again.
He said resume your deliberations. Maybe I dicked the cutting up.
Oh no.
All right, we'll stand in recess till we have a question or verdict. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, they must leave in. Okay. So I don't think it's very much longer, but
Look at that
and I
walk.
know that it's not in there. He even walks like a douche. Okay, yeah. So I cut it out.
You ready, Christy? All right, welcome back, everyone. I've been told the jury has reached a verdict. I have no idea what it is. What we will do is we'll bring the jurors in. Juror number 1 is our foreperson. I'm going to have her switch seats with juror number 3, so she'll be near the microphone to make the announcement. I will have the jurors tender the verdict forms to me. I'm going to review those before they're announced just to make sure they have been completed and signed, and then I'll return those to our
Not guilty
for publication. Now, I just want to prepare
Absolutely.
everybody. Everybody's
didn't test
behaved
the
really well during this
notebook.
very difficult trial.
Right.
I appreciate that.
They didn't see him
and I
write
don't
it. The
expect
police
there to
did
be
not see him
any,
write it.
displays
Yeah.
of emotion from anybody. The only reason I bring it up is because you actually have to take a step
Look at
to
that lady
affirmatively
rubbing her
make
nose.
yourself not have that reaction. It's a
Gross.
powerful thing when we receive a verdict. And if you're not thinking consciously about, I need to make sure I don't display any emotion, then it's just natural that you're going to do that. And as I said, I have no idea what the verdict's going to be. Some folks may be happy with it. Some folks may be disappointed in it. I don't really know. But this jury has worked hard. They've made a lot of sacrifices over the last really week and a half to be here in this situation. And so I just want to make sure that we respect them. Whatever the verdict is, everybody just needs to remain calm and not have any outward displays of emotion. There will be an appropriate time for that to happen because I know it's just natural. And so everybody's behaved really well. The only reason I bring it up again is just so you prepare yourself because it's an awesome thing to receive a verdict. Is the state ready to receive the verdict? The defense ready? All right, please bring our jury in. Folks, please rise for our jury. All right, everyone, you may be seated. Does the state waive the call, jury? Defense waive the call? Welcome back, folks. Madam Foreperson, I understand the jury has reached unanimous verdict in all 7 counts. Is that correct? If you please hand the book to Officer Coker, let me take a quick look at that, and then I'll return it to you.
Just cause that's true.
Yeah. That'd be a powerful plea.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let the record reflect the court sees that all 7 verdict forms have been completed and signed by our foreperson. Officer Coker, if you please return that to our foreperson. And Madam Foreperson, I'm going to ask if you please stand up, and I would ask you to take a couple steps to your left so we're near the microphone. And I'm going to have you publish the jury's findings. I'd like you to turn to the verdict form for the first count. And if you please announce your findings by reading the sentence, we, the jury, find the defendant, and then announce your findings.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder of Joel Guy Sr.
Count number 2, please.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder of Lisa Guy.
Count number 3.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of first-degree felony murder of Lisa Guy.
Count number 4.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of first-degree felony murder of Joel Guy Sr.
Count number 5.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of felony murder of Lisa Guy.
Count number 6.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of abuse of a corpse of Joel Guy Sr.
And count number 7.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Joel Michael Guy, guilty of abuse of a corpse of Lisa Guy.
Thank you, Madam Foreperson. If you please return that to Officer Coker for the record, you may have a seat. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if that's your individual verdict as to each count, please signify by raising your right hand. All right, let the record reflect the court sees all 12 hands. Does either side wish any further polling? All right, folks, that concludes your service to this community. In this case, I'm very appreciative of the sacrifices that each one of you have made by being
I'm
here.
shocked.
Really going back to last week. I know
I'm
this
blown
has been
away.
a difficult trial for you, but thank you so much
I
for your
never would
service
have
to our
thought
community
that
and
he
for
would have
making
been
our
guilty.
constitutions work.
Yeah, I thought it was
I
going to be
have
not
one
guilty
bit of
across the board.
legal issues I have to address with the attorneys, but I would like to thank each of you with a certificate of appreciation for your service. So if you don't mind waiting for me for just a couple
Joel
more
Michael
minutes,
about
at
to be
this
with the
time
guy.
you are discharged.
Just because he
Please go
was
to the
with
officers. I'll see you in
with
the
the
jury
guy.
room.
Yes.
Michael McCracken was his buddy.
Quote unquote roommate.
He was a roommate in the We Shall Pack the Fudge way.
All right, Mr. Guy, if you remain standing, anyone else, you may have a seat. Joel Michael Guy and docket number 110145, after being tried by a jury of peers and found guilty of all 7 counts, the court does enter those findings. I exercise my role as a 13th juror as well and do find that the weight of the evidence supports the jury's findings. You can have a seat now, sir. All right, folks, by operation of law, the court is required to pronounce the sentence in the first-degree murder counts, and I believe we're going to have some victim impact today. Is that correct, Joe?
The family would like a few minutes before to collect their thoughts before we
Yes.
do that, if that's okay.
I do need to take a recess anyway to discharge the jury and give them some instructions about the media contact, but I will do that. We can come back. We will hear victim impact testimony. After that, I will pronounce sentence on the first-degree murder counts. We will need to have a separate sentencing hearing to determine consecutive versus concurrent and also determine the appropriate sentence in counts 6 and 7, abuse of a corpse. So we'll take a 10 minutes enough time? All right, we'll take a 10-minute recess and come back and begin with victim impact.
Again, I cut it out, so it won't be nearly 10. It'll only be 7.5.
That's all you need, right?
Yeah.
Or is it a few seconds? I can never remember.
15, 18 seconds. And
Okay.
then I love adequate cuddle time. Enough time for you to grab coffee.
A cigarette.
Yeah. Well, they brought a kid. Apparently.
Well, that was his
Oh,
grandparent.
we're not done yet. We're not done yet. We have victim impact and then sentencing. Do you not listen to the judge?
Who,
We only
me?
have yeah.
All right. Thank you.
No, I said I was reacting to wow, they brought a kid. That was
Expect to
that
do
was
this at this time.
it was
Oh.
probably his grandparents.
The victim
So
Yeah,
that's why the
probably.
kid was there. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
No, I know that there was.
narrowly tailored,
I listened to the judge.
not to be just
I quit
personal
listening to the
victimized,
attorneys.
the impact of the crime
I
on
listened
the
to the judge though.
Yes, sir.
Colonel, please, I've admonished all of the family that they're to direct their comments to you, and it is their
These are always really tough for me personally.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna make a bunch of jokes. I'll probably mute, to be honest.
Thank you, Joe. There is no opportunity for direct or cross-examination on victim impact, so there's really no response that the defense would have. They'll have an opportunity to reply to that during the sentencing hearing that we'll have at a later date. So I don't think the defendant would be prejudiced by hearing victim impact testimony this time. So I'm going to overrule your objection, but I do direct the family. The purpose of victim impact testimony is to assist the court in sentencing by hearing from the victims on how this has impacted you and your family. So I would ask you to direct your comments toward me in that particular area. All right, John, if you please call your first person. So if you just begin by stating your name, your relationship to the victims, then tell me how this impacted you.
Yes, sir. My name's Alvin Madera Jr. I'm the oldest brother of Lisa Guy and brother-in-law of Joe Guy. Proceed? It's with heavy heart and tormented spirit that I make the statement to the members of this court. I am many things. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a husband, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, and I'm a son. I've been blessed to see many wonderful things on this earth. I watched my stepson grow to become a man. I've been there for my grandchildren. I watched them grow to become little people. Your parents cannot do these things, Joe Michael, because of the crime you've committed. My sister Lisa Guy was truly one of the most loving, caring, and forgiving people on the face of this earth. Her husband, my brother-in-law, Joe Guy Sr., was honestly one of the most down-to-earth, hard-working, and kind people I ever met. They were the type of people who would help anyone out whenever they could. My sister was the type of person who loved deeply. She loved the family, she loved the mother, she loved the father, her sister, and I. Her husband, she loved her children and stepchildren. She loved the grandchildren. Her love was taken. It was taken from this world by murder. My sister and brother-in-law loved family. They enjoyed holidays. Some of my favorite memories I have of her and him were from holidays. We could sit around and tell fun and interesting stories. My brother-in-law was an amazing storyteller, and our family holidays will never be the same without them there. Lisa and Joe were murdered. They were butchered. Their bodies were desecrated. Their spirits were forever harmed. The loss of my family members will forever be eternal. I stand for them in their statement. Days after hearing of Joe and Lisa's murder, my mother was hospitalized. She never exited the hospital. The loss of your child was difficult for her, one that I hope I never have to endure. But to find out your daughter was murdered by your own grandchild was heartbreaking. Literally, she could not even attend the funeral. She was unable to say her final prayers. She was Catholic. She was unable to take communion at her daughter's funeral. Excuse me. The next day after we buried Joel and Lisa, my mother died. They fought to bring her back. She truly died of a broken heart. There are 3 deaths on your hand, on Joe Michael Guy Jr.'s hands. My grandchildren lost their great-grandmother. My stepson lost his grandmother. And I lost my mother. On that day, I lost my family. My mother is gone. My sister is gone. The world has forever changed. The impact of this crime is notorious. My grandchildren's grandchildren will be able to read about this horrible, disgusting crime. We will never, ever be the same. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Robin White.
No, I know your name, but just for the record, if you'd state it again and your relationship to the
Robin White, and Joel Sr. was my brother. Lisa was like my sister. And I waited a long time for this, 4 years now. Took away my brother and my sister Lisa, the 2 precious people he's took from my family and me. It was a heartless and selfish thing. I will never get to see or talk to him or be a part of my brother and my sister's life no more. The night I heard about this, I knew who done it, because in my heart I did. And Mike and Lisa, I called him my brother Mike. I didn't call him Joel. He was so fun, and Lisa I done a lot with him. We was together a lot, and I miss that. Now that's gone. I'll never get that back. And he was so proud to have his grandchildren, and they miss their papa. He won't get to watch them grow up, him or Lisa, either one now. And their daughters, they won't get to see their father and the woman that they looked up to, a mom, ever again. And I'll never have my brother with me again. But justice has prevailed today, and I am so thankful for that. I had a lot of stuff wrote, but I ain't going to say all of it, so I just want to thank everybody here for what they've done, the job they've done, and you, Your Honor, thank you, and to everybody here. I appreciate it, and I better just shut up now and go home back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. White. I'm sorry for your loss.
Shanda, speak.
If you could just say your name and your relationship to the loss, please.
Chanda Spink. Joel Guy was my dad, and Lisa was my stepmom. They, I don't have a statement ready, so I'm just speaking from the heart. But I want to first of all, just so I don't forget, say thank you to all law enforcement and the lawyers, the court, the jury, everyone that had to see all this. And I'm very sorry that this evil's had to come into their life too. And that I will be praying for all of them as I do for my family as well. Dad and Lisa were wonderful. They were larger than life. They were so happy and such really good people. And they loved him. They loved him so much. They loved all of us. And for anyone to do what he did, I don't understand it. He has taken something from myself, from my children, his dad and Lisa's grandchildren, my husband, everyone in our family. He has taken something from us that we'll never get back. We will. I pray that we can move on from this and that we can put this behind us. I pray that my children are not going to be scarred for life from this. The tears that's come from them, the nightmares. I'm so thankful for today. I'm thankful that this day is done. And I'm so thankful that the jury decided guilty on all counts. And I'm thankful for you giving me the opportunity to speak today. Thanks.
Angela? Crane?
And if you begin by stating your name and your relationship.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Angela Crane, and Joel and Lisa Guy were my parents. I wasn't prepared to speak today. It's like for 4 years, I felt like I've pushed it down like it's not actually happening. But it's real. And they're gone. And Dad was my best friend. And I'll never get to hear his laugh again. Or his just incredible hugs. I'll never get to sit and banter with him and hear the same stories we've all heard over and over, but they're still just as hilarious because Dad was such a storyteller. I'll never get to go fishing with him, or what he likes to say, have a cocktail, or it's 5 o'clock somewhere. I was robbed of having my father walk me down the aisle. And Lisa, my last mother on earth, was taken away. She was the most loving and giving person I've ever met. She would give the shirt off her back to anyone, the last dime to anyone. And she was my best friend too. They were both robbed of seeing their grandchildren, their handsome boys, grow up and turn into incredible men. And for them to have to go through this tragedy so young is just, it's heartbreaking. I still have Dad on speed dial. Like, it hurts me every day not to be able to speak to him. The rest of my life is not going to be the same for any of us. And I know there's a void that will not be replaced until that beautiful day when we meet again. Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. Ms. Tyler, if you'd begin by stating your name and your relationship, please.
Yes, my name is Michelle Tyler, and my relationship is I am Joel and Lisa's daughter. I'm going to have to put this mask on because that mask smothers me.
That's fine.
That's all right. First, I would like to say that I don't know if you all have a hero, but I have.
Ms. Tyler, I'm going to give you permission to take the screen off. There's nobody within 6 feet.
Thank you.
I'm just having a hard time hearing you. I think it's appropriate to make an exception in this case. Go ahead.
Thank you. I don't know if you all have a hero, but I have heroes, and it's such an awful situation to even have to have heroes, but I thank all of you all sitting here and everyone back there that are still here for 5 days and 7 days, and you've been here every time. Every single one of you are my hero. As a little girl, I watched how much Lisa loved Joel Michael. I wanted to be that mom. Joel Michael was Lisa's entire world. Most girls dream of weddings, I think. I don't know. But I dreamed of being Lisa with the picture-perfect family, with the dad coming home at 5 and me having dinner. I wanted to love as strong as Lisa loved. The dinner at Dad's and Lisa's home included meat, which was so different. We would stay there in the summer, but we were at my dad lived like 6 hours or hours away, and so we stayed at my mom's. Included meat, which was so different at my house where we grew up poor, and it was just pasta. So when we went to that house, it was like meat and candy, and they provided a loving and caring home with all the extra stuff. Some of this I can't read that sentence either. My dreams were to spend the next 40 years at Thanksgiving and Christmas laughing with my parents. My dreams were to move Lisa and Dad into my home. I would even banter with them about them moving into my home when they were old, to model for my kids how to take care of your parents in the last days, because I'm moving in with my kids when I get old. But I wanted them to see that, like I got to see my mom take care of her parents. I got to see my mom stand by her parents' bed when they died, and I wanted that. My dream was to hold my mom's, Lisa's hand as she took her last breath. My dream was to hold my dad's hand as he took his last breath. People take moments like that for granted, but I wanted those moments with my whole soul. Not only that, the kid's childhood was taken away. I am angry for my dreams being destroyed, but I'm not the only one that's been affected. This has impacted my kids, and for that I will never be able to forgive. I rest easy knowing that God is okay with my choice not to forgive someone that has murdered my parents. I had to spend the last 4 years saving my kids' soul, their spirits, and their hearts. I have spent the last 4 years cleaning up a mess, No one will ever know what it's like to be a child having to hear that your grandmother's head was cooking in a pot because the person that did it had the perfect childhood. He, especially not a man with that childhood. And on a super selfish note, you'll never know, not meaning you, like meaning what it is like to have to tell your children that their grandparents have been chopped up and put in acid. Can my kids ever trust again? Would I ever really be able to trust again? I was always so proud of Lisa, and I told everyone that she was the best stay-at-home mom. I mourned for my dad, and no, I keep talking about Lisa. I mourn terribly for my dad, I do. But I grieve and rage for Lisa. I rage for her from the mother's point of view. I cry for her because I wonder if when she realized the love of her life, the only son she had, the child that she gave her entire life to, was about to murder her. I have to edit that. Stop right there. I wonder if at that moment when her heart was broken, did she even fight? Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Anyone else? There'll be an additional time for victim impact statement should anyone choose to make it when we come back for entry of judgment. Does anybody else need to address the court today? All right, thank you, folks. So I do receive the victim impact testimony from the family. As a judge, I'm required to make sentences based upon the law and the evidence in the case. Your emotion is completely understandable, and your pain is completely understandable. As a judge, that cannot have any influence on the decision that I make. But I'm also a human being, so I want you to know that you do have my sympathy. I know this has been very difficult. If I weren't the judge and I were a friend, I would spend a lot of time sitting down and talk to you, but I am the judge, so it would be inappropriate for me to be your counselor. The one thing I will say to the family is several of you have expressed how your faith has played a role in how you're dealing with this. So in your faith tradition, you can read in Romans 5, where Scripture says, where sin did abound, grace did much more abound. And so it's my prayer to you that you will find God's abounding grace to help you get through this. But you do have my sympathy. At this point, though, that sympathy has to end, and I have to make legal determinations. So I hope you understand when I pronounce sentence in this case, it's not a value judgment on the life of Joel and Lisa Guy. It's a judgment based upon the facts of this case in the law. All right. So we do need to set a sentencing date before we enter the sentences on the first-degree murder case. We need to get a pre-sentence investigation report conducted. That takes about 45 days. Today is October 2nd, so that would put us somewhere in the neighborhood of November 13th or the 19th. I guess if the defense will waive the 45 days, I would suggest probably November 19.
19? Yes, Your Honor.
Is that good? General, is that okay for this date? All right, so we'll set sentencing date for November 19th. Since we do have verdicts on first-degree murder, the court is required by law to go ahead and enter those sentences, or at least pronounce those sentences. I won't be able to enter judgment because we have to know if there will be consecutive sentences in this case, and we'll also need to pronounce the sentence on the abuse of a corpse on the November 19th day. But at this time, Mr. Guy, I'm going to ask you to please stand. Joel Michael Guy and docket number 110145, after being tried by a jury of peers of the first-degree premeditated murder of Joel Michael Guy, the court now sentences you to life in prison in the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Count number 2, after being found guilty by a jury of peers of the first-degree premeditated murder of Lisa Guy, I now enter sentence of life in prison in the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Count number 3 is the first-degree felony murder during the perpetration of first-degree premeditated murder of Lisa Guy. The court now sentences you to life in prison in that count to merge into count number 2. Count number 4 is first-degree felony murder during the perpetration of theft of Joel Guy Sr. The court sentences you to life in prison in Tennessee Department of Corrections. That will merge into count number 1. Count number 5 is the first-degree felony murder during the perpetration of theft of Lisa Guy. The court sentences you to life in prison. That will merge with count number 2. That will be the court sentence. The court stands adjourned. Yeah, he won't go. He won't go.
Thank you.
Those are obviously really tough to hear, and those people are in pain and hurting. And this little fuck didn't show a single bit of a negative emotion. Like, he has no remorse. And I wish they had the death penalty because he should fry. I think this is one of those cases, with the exception that we talk about, where it's so clear and convincing that I'm okay with it. There's one more portion, the official sentencing. We'll get to that here very shortly, but those are always really rough to watch. So, and I agree, Gemini, the lack of emotion. It's disgusting. It's disgusting how you could do that to somebody. Even if it's somebody off the street, it's difficult. But for your parents and the people that raised you and loved and cared about you, and for all intents and purposes and everything that we've heard, we're more than fair to this little fuck. It's really hard to have any sympathy for this asshole.
Yeah.
So, any. He's now thinking, well, I not only killed them, but I've really hurt these people too. Yeah. He's excited about what he did. He takes pleasure in all of it. And that might be one of the broken parts of our justice system, is that these people get to relive their disgusting and heinous crimes.
Right.
I don't know that there's a better way. I wouldn't want it any other way for the ones that aren't.
No.
But it's tough. It's tough when you have such a lack of care and compassion from an individual. No reaction to the verdict, no reaction to any of those statements. I mean, if somebody was saying something like that about something I did, I would not be taking it the same way, but I guess I'm not
a psychopath.
A psychopath, so.
Yeah.
Nuts is a bag of, peanuts, but not a psychopath, so. I guess that's the difference. So, it's just always rough, and we obviously we feel for the family, and hopefully they can heal and find a way past it. But it's senseless. So here's the sentence.
All right. So, including the arguments that we've heard today from the parties, as well as additional.
Yes, Jacob.
Yeah, exactly. How not to raise your kids.
Court is required in sentencing decisions to consider the principles of sentencing. The first one, in number 1, says every defendant shall be punished by the imposition of a sentence justly deserved in relation to the seriousness of the offense. And I think that principle carries a lot of weight with the court in today's sentencing. Now, there's other principles as well, including it should be consistent with across the board for everyone, so you eliminate unjustified disparities among persons. And also, you want to provide effective deterrence to the community. You consider defense of linking criminal.
I also want to commend this judge. I thought he was a little. He was very clear on what his limitations were, and I think he was very compassionate within those limitations, and I appreciated that. So. And I think he's done a decent job with the case. He hasn't really had to do much, but
more substantial way more in favor of confinement. And so, looking at all that,
it's very fair.
The court first considers the manner in which these sentences should be served. Obviously, the murders are automatic life sentences. And so the only thing the court has to determine concerning the manner of any of these sentences are the abuse of a corpse charges. Those are Class B felonies.
Worse.
Worse. That
Make it more right.
in fact a range 1 standard offender because he has no prior felony history. And so the potential range of punishment on each of those counts is 1 to 2 years in prison at a 30% sentencing rate. The court does find that the defendant does not have a long criminal history. It's a clean criminal history, so that does not justify confinement on those counts. Is it necessary to avoid deprecating the serious defense? I do find that that factor applies in this case and weighs heavily toward confinement. This wasn't just an abuse of corpse where somebody kills somebody during a robbery, goes out and sets their bodies on fire or tries to bury them. This was the most extreme form of abuse of a corpse I've seen in 25 years. Hopefully it will be the most severe that I've seen in my entire career, however long that lasts. And so I do think that that factor alone warrants confinement on the abuse of the corpse counts. The others I don't think really apply, other than does he have potential for rehabilitation or treatment. In this particular case, I don't see any potential rehabilitation in Mr. Guy. I was watching him during the trial. He showed absolutely no remorse or despair at seeing what he had done. Quite frankly, Mr. Guy, you look like you're kind of proud of what you had accomplished.
Yep.
And so I think we could have 500 years to try to rehabilitate Mr. Guy and be unsuccessful. So I think that factor as well weighs toward confinement in those counts as well. Now, as I stated, there's been no argument for enhancement factors, and I don't think any of them would apply. The enhancement factors are merely advisory. The court is not bound to those. It's not like you do some math equation and, well, we got 3 enhancement factors and no mitigation factors, and then you do some type of equation. It doesn't work that way. In this case, just looking at the facts alone, it would warrant a sentence at the top of the range in each of those counts. The mitigation that's been presented really consists of the fact that the defendant has no prior criminal history, which I do find is true in this case. However, I think it's greatly overwhelmed by the evilness of the actions of Mr. Guy in this case. So I do think a sentence at the top of the range in each of the abuse of a corpse is warranted, as well as confinement. So the only other question for the court to determine is whether or not these sentences should run consecutive. They're not mandatory consecutive, and so the court has to look at potential discretionary consecutive sentencing. And the one that's been cited is what we refer to as the dangerous offender factor. And not only does the court have to find that a person is a dangerous offender whose behavior indicates little or no regard for human life, which I do in this case. He had no hesitation about committing a crime, which risk of human life is high. In fact, that was his goal in this, was to end human life. You also have to find what we refer to as the Wilkerson factors. And one of those are the circumstances surrounding the commission of the offense aggravated. And so when we look at the murder counts, I do find that they're aggravated. Mr. Guy was stabbed 42 times in his torso, and Miss Guy over 30 times. This was a crime of, I want to say anger, but I'm not sure it was. This was just a crime of just pure evil overkill. And he was sending a message to his parents and perhaps to his family through his actions. And then the steps that he took to try to dispose of their bodies was beyond anything that would be necessary to form abuse of a corpse. And so I certainly find that the circumstances in this case were aggravated. Is confinement for an extended period of time necessary to protect society from the defendant's unwillingness to lead a productive life and the defendant's resort to criminal activity and furtherance of anti-societal lifestyle? And in this case, Mr. Halstead is arguing this factor doesn't apply in that the defendant has no prior criminal history. He is going to be in his 70s if I ran these concurrent with one another before he got out of jail, and would unlikely be a threat to society. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of physical deterioration in Mr. Guy over the next 51 years. But even then, it's his mind that I'm most worried about. He certainly has evinced a sick and depraved mind. He's certainly not mentally ill. He knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't go about it in a very intelligent way, but in any event, I do think confinement for an extended period of time is necessary to protect society, because I don't think Mr. Guy's mind is going to change at any point. And finally, the aggregate length of the sentence is reasonably related to the offenses for which the defendant stands convicted. And I am aware that if I give him the maximum sentence and stack it, that there'll be 130 years before he'd be eligible for release. Quite frankly, if it was 300 years, I don't think that would still be sufficient to reasonably relate to the offenses for which he is committed. And so I was thinking, is there any closing remarks I need to make in this thing? And there's not a whole lot for the court to say. The case really speaks for itself. Mr. Guy, I think, thinks he's a lot smarter than he really is. And some of the things he said in this letter that the state has presented, where he's threatening to blind his cellmate so he can get a cell to himself.
Oh, damn.
Which, not thinking that through any better than he thought through these homicides. And so this is just a pure act of evil, and it was done in a really unintelligent way. And I think that's probably what would bother Mr. Guy the most, me saying he's unintelligent. So, Mr. Guy, at this time, I ask you to stand up. I'm going to sentence you in this remaining counts. Joel Michael Guy and Dr. number 110145, the court has already pronounced a life sentence in count number 1. The court is going to merge count number 4 into that life sentence. Count number 2, the court has already entered a life sentence for Lisa Guy, and counts 3 and 5 merge into that. I'm going to order that count 2 run consecutive to count number 1. In count number 6, abuse of corpse of Joel Guy, I sent you the maximum sentence of 2 years to run consecutive to count number 2, and in count at a 30% sentencing rate. Count number 7, abuse of the corpse of Lisa Guy, will be the maximum sentence of 2 years and 30% consecutive to count number 6. So it's a total sentence of 2 life sentences consecutive with 4 years stacked on top of that. So you can have a seat, Counselor. All right, the next part of the proceedings will be the filing of a motion of new trial. You have an absolute right to an appeal in these matters, and the public defender will remain your attorney for that. I do want to set a status date. Mr. Halstead, I know you may not have the final motion of new trial prepared by our next day, but I want to make sure we keep it on the calendar so we don't lose track of it. How about status on February 5th? That's a Friday.
I'm sorry,
February 5th for status.
Fine.
Motion for new trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so we'll have a status hearing on February 5th to see how close we are to having the motion for new trial prepared, and go forward from there. All right, thank you, folks. Of course, we'll take a recess. We'll come back again in the regular.
Your Honor, one additional thing, he would like to stay here pending the motion for a new trial. I've actually dictated it because I promised him I'd get it done quickly. I've given him part of it. I'm going to give the rest of it to him tomorrow.
I don't have control of that, Mr. Halstead. Once I enter the judgments, he belongs to TDOC, and I'm going to enter the judgments today. So I can't tell TDOC they can't come and get him, but they may come and get him, and I have no control over that.
Based on prior discussions, he may end up waiving his right to be brought back. I'll discuss that with him, but we'll do that in writing.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So that is the trial of Joel Guy Jr.
Mm-hmm.
He gets that too, so pretty foolproof. Yeah. And I appreciate your insight, Bobby. I really do.
Yeah.
And understand kind of what you're saying with everything. I tend to disagree with it. I think that although I understand it in a lack of emotion, there's still some things that are so overcoming that you would think that you'd have some response. And killing your parents probably seems like it would be one of those. And I could be
Yeah.
wrong. Not a psychiatrist or whatever. But
A rocket scientist.
yeah. So I don't know. And I guess it's not fair for me to pass judgment on somebody and what they can and can't experience. Yeah, but laughed when your dog died, and but you didn't brutally murder it and then try to rape your dog. I would hope not, at least. But so, yeah, I think that I'm happy with the way that Judge did this.
He was very good
Yeah, I thought he was very
and handled
fair,
it well.
very concise, he didn't go too over the top, so he had anything to appeal or fight or have anything to push back on.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that from him. I thought it was a good trial. When you have detachment issues, it feels pretty equal. Maybe. I mean, maybe. Like I said, I'm not entirely sure each way on that one. I don't know how I feel on that. That's but it's interesting. It's interesting to think about. So that was insane with the chick talking. It was close because seriously, she raised doubt. Yes.
Yeah.
The prosecutor was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
She should have just not done a rebuttal.
She should have not. No, she should have sat down and shut up and just let it be. So I think she overdid that. My mouse is not working again.
Serious?
Damn it. No,
Jacob.
Castro. No.
No.
The other guy you can have, but this guy?
No.
I think Mark was more sane than this guy.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, what else do you want to talk about while my mouse fucking decides to start working again?
I did check. I did post some new trials that we could cover.
I did see that. You want to talk about them since you know more about them?
Let me see.
Excuse me. You have plenty of time until my mouse decides to start working again.
So we have Nikki Sue Insel. She was married. Do you mean to like go into it? Or like give a gist
not
of
like
it?
in depth, just like a
damn it.
high level overview.
She was having an affair.
Okay.
And tried to off her husband. Think outside of the mouse. There's Trevor Summers. He actually represented himself, and he tried to kidnap his wife. So that one's fun.
Excellent.
He actually interrogated his wife. Or not interrogated, but he examined his wife. Questioned in the trial. I don't know much about the Parkland school officer, the Florida versus Scott Peterson. I'm not quite for sure. Yes, Cross. Well, no, and he directed. I think he called her to the stand again, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, recalled her. Let's see, there is the staged suicide murder, Ohio versus Matthew Moore. That was interesting, because I don't want to give anything away, but
yeah, don't give that one away.
Yeah,
it was a good one.
It was a good one. We'll just put it that way.
For the people. By the people.
Yes. Damn it.
So yeah, that will go up in the community tab on YouTube. We will.
Is your mouse working?
Yeah.
Okay.
That will go up in the community tab on YouTube. So we will make a determination on that. Shit, but now it's on like super speed. There we go. I gotta click the button twice. There we go. There. I like it middle of the road.
So
Click the buttons on the screen. Yes.
yes.
So yeah, God damn it. You stop it, Shenny. Bullshit. But yeah.
But yeah, it was the Parkland officer that was on trial. It wasn't the shooter. So that one obviously was fucked up. But I don't know what the officer did. Yeah.
He was a coward and he let kids get murdered.
Yeah. So there's that one.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Because I don't know if he got convicted. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. So I watched the Nikki Sue Insel. I watched the Matthew Moore, and I watched no, for fuck's sake. The one Trevor Summers. I've watched all three of those. So
gotcha. So yeah, well, I'll put up it's probably not going to be tonight. I mean, let's be honest, but it maybe tomorrow. I'll just throw it up in community on YouTube. Make sure you vote. I will certainly let you know before our stream tomorrow. Maybe we'll talk about them a little bit more tomorrow too, when we're starting to put together stream and stuff like that. Or, before we go over to the Rumbles. Maybe we'll do something like that. I'll have them up by then. So I will certainly let you know, and then close it end of the week so we can prep for the actual trial.
Yep.
But with that being said, I thought that was a good one. That guy is super creep. He deserves everything.
Yep. You got what he deserved. Well, maybe not all of it, but
I mean, we have to be civilized. We can want him to get the shit beat out of him in the shower, but
he might like it.
Advocate for that.
No, never.
Because that would be violence.
That would be, and we don't recommend any of that.
We don't recommend violence.
No.
Unless it's we don't even
never.
We don't even recommend that violence.
Never. No violence.
Not even against Canadians.
We are for jokes and entertainment purposes only.
Yes, exactly. So, I want to thank you especially for hanging out with me through all of this. Some of it was, very dry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the prosecutor and give a closing with everything that we had to deal with, but
please don't.
At least say that.
Please don't.
Yeah, just know when you're leading the game. Just
know when you're ahead.
Fuck out of there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a Rumble exclusive, and we will be discussing September 11th. And some of the...
Let's just say September 11th.
Yes. We'll be
say
talking
that.
about September 11th. There we go.
Yes. Let's
Good
leave
idea.
it at that. We want the Rumble people to rumble.
Yes.
The Rumble people to watch. We don't want to give anything away.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Because, YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thanks for joining us. You guys have a great Sunday evening, and we will catch you all again very, very soon. Have a good night.
Have a good night.